All right. All right.
Yeah.
See if we can record an episode in 70 minutes. I have no idea how to start it. I don't know how to do it. I didn't write it, prep an intro. Okay. All right. We are back and we are doing Quicksilver by Callie Hart in honor of book 2 coming out. You know what I didn't do before we started set down to record? I didn't look up the release date of Brimstone. So Mara is going to quickly recap Quicksilver while I look up the release date of Brimstone.
All right. Well, this will be a shorter kind of standalone episode because there's one book out right now. And just real quick, we're introduced to a typical female male main character who is, for all intents and purposes, kind of spunky, does a bunch of stealing, and then is yeeted via inevitable death into a completely different world, isekai if you would, and then goes on an entirely completely different adventure for a little while. And then we get to the third act where things pivot once more. We get enemies for no reason, two lovers for also apparently no reason. By the end, it ends exactly the way you'd expect it to, because when does the female main character never ever not get turned?
Yes, and no. Okay. So this episode is going to be full of spoilers. If you have not read Quicksilver, you need to stop here. Go read. Actually, do not read Quicksilver. Listen to Quicksilver. Okay? And we'll talk about why later. But listen to Quicksilver and then come back and listen to us. But she does not just get turned into a fae. Doesn't she get turned into a vampire as well?
She's supposed to be a mix of the two that has never been seen before.
Yes, of course.
Yeah,
And also, before she gets turned into super special fairy vampire, she previously has where she then leaves this world to go to the god's world, where the god like snips the strings of fate or whatever. So now she still has her mating bond, but she doesn't have any of her destiny strings or whatever. And then gets yeeted back into fair vampire world. So she's extra special. In addition, also is an alchemist, which we'll talk about when we get to world building, which is something that humans are not supposed to be able to do, but she can do.
Because she was already special.
Because she was already special.
As the god told her, there are other alchemists in her world, so to make up for her no longer being so special,
so we needed to
give her all the other special.
Yeah, we needed to give her. This is like, you know what it's. Do you remember when Froyo was like the biggest thing in the country?
Yes.
Yeah, and you could just you could build your own frozen yogurt and you could just put as many toppings on it as you want. That is what this book is. And that is what Ceres is as a protagonist. Like,
just a little bit of vampire.
You can have it. You can have anything you want. Yeah, that is what this book is. Okay, first impressions.
It's on par with the quality I've come to expect from Romantasy.
It probably doesn't help that I make you read books like this, and then I also make you read books like The Starving Saints. Does it make it harder to then come back and read a book like this?
No, because I think that the expectation I have for these books are for them to be like this.
Okay.
Like I'm not expecting this to be something it's not, and what it is a Romantasy book. It's not dark romance.
Yeah, I don't know why. I see a lot of it's interesting. This might be a tangent. So yeah, 5 minutes in, Natasha's going to go on a tangent. Whenever I see people disagreeing about a book, usually if you want to call it an excuse or the defense of whatever the book is, if somebody has a problem with something in it, the response will be, oh, well, it's just dark. It's just dark romance. It's dark fantasy. And I'm like, no, those mean specific things having to do with its treatment of taboo. Okay? So if there's no taboo in the book, it's not dark.
Yeah.
And there's no taboo in this book, at all. Nothing, things that are bad TM are described as bad TM, and the good guys don't do them. Not dark. Yeah. For example, okay, this is the most knock your head over it, would be a book where the stalker and their victim end up together in the end.
Yeah.
That's dark romance, right?
Yeah.
Where because it's preparing you to be triggered.
Right. And this might be a whole tangent in and of itself, but I think that part of that is because people often mistake critique for criticism and then come to defend a book when really you can be saying something that you didn't like about a book and still enjoy the book and want to discuss it. If there's no difference in opinion, there's no discussion.
Right. And you can still discuss romantasy in an intellectual way. That is theoretically what we're doing on this podcast. I don't know how intellectual we are, but like discussing things as things.
Yeah.
And not as personal indictments against your personality.
Like the personal affront people take to like even especially the ship wars in ACOTAR.
Yeah, in ACOTAR especially. And I have not seen that so much in the Quicksilver fandom. But Quicksilver is so much smaller.
Yeah.
We talk a lot about ACOTAR fandom and Romantasy fandom on this podcast, and it's got some issues. And unfortunately, I feel like the solutions that a lot of the mods are reaching for are not the correct solutions. So the solution seems to be to separate everyone.
Yeah.
And separation is not conducive to dialogue.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what has happened in the ACOTAR, especially regarding the ship wars, is like everything just gets separated. If you're a Gwynriel shipper, you're not allowed to be in this thread. You're not allowed to be in this group. You need to go be in the Gwynriel. If you are an Elreal shipper, you need to be in your whole own group. There's no interaction between them. And then what ends up happening is like Azris gets treated as a crack ship, because the Azris people are just on a hidden Discord and they only talk to each other, which I understand in the context of Azris. I do understand because of the vitriol and the homophobia and the really, really nasty things that get thrown at them. But when it comes to your like vanilla heterosexual pairings, Gwynriel and Elreal people need to just be sat down and told to be adults.
Yeah.
That's the answer. Don't just but instead it's everybody should separate. If they talk about anything controversial at all, if they talk about things they're triggered by, same with like the people who argue that like about Nesta and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is always to just, you're not allowed to be in this group anymore. And that's not adult behavior. I've never seen that in fandom before. I've seen it in other online communities that get brigaded by certain political groups, but it's strange to see it happening in a fandom for a fictional thing.
Yeah.
I don't know if we want to go off on this tangent.
To bring it back, I do like the fact that before I even read this, you described Saris as somebody who was stealing copper.
Yes, beginning of the book, Saris is fucking badass. She is Tank Girl. I loved it.
Yeah.
I loved it.
The first part of the book is
great.
A good time.
Yeah,
it's
the
fun.
First part of the book is a good time. I liked the desert scape. I liked the tiered city. I liked the numbered wards.
Yeah.
I really like books like Dune, Hyperion, and so and I read a lot of sci-fi. So the desert scape is something that like I do have high expectations for, because I've read a lot of Lost in the Desert science fiction. But I thought she did, for this being Romantasy, for this being a first book, she did not irritate me with her we're all starving of thirst.
Yeah.
Desertscape. So I liked it. Am I biased because I like that genre? Yes, but it had a sci-fi tone. She felt like Tank Girl. Even the like versus elites versus
Third Ward.
Proletariat politics, also similar to Tank Girl, right?
Yeah.
So like there was very Tank Girl vibes. You know what I mean? Like it's so, and her politics is not fleshed out in this book. And then also because we get yeeted so quickly to the new world, she doesn't have to think about it. Just done. It's gone. It's away. Her brother may or may have not been blown up in a nuclear explosion. It doesn't matter. We're in Ice World now. So, I would have liked to see her when she first goes to Fey World and there's snow and ice and water everywhere. At first, she's overwhelmed by how much water there is.
Mm-hmm.
And then that goes away really quickly. And if I was writing this, I would make that an aspect of her characterization, that like she's still, no matter how far we get into the novel, she still never drinks a full gulp of water. She always just sips it. That would have been a little detail that would have kept her, because that kind of physical behavior is not something you can turn off.
Yeah.
And so it would have made it more, but that comes from maturity as a writer.
Yeah.
And I don't think that Callie Hart, she had written novels before this, but I think they were all like high school smut novels.
Mm-hmm.
That was gross to say that out loud, but that's what they are. Like I'll show you the cover of one. I'll look one up and I'll show you, and then you'll see. You'll be like, oh Lord, what's happening? This is illegal. But yeah, no, tell me your thoughts on the opener while I look this up.
So I liked the tone, the way you set the tone by giving me that detail beforehand, because like that's exactly what it was like. She was, trying to survive. Her focus was on survival and taking care of
her brother.
Like, she had set goals. She had confidence in what she could do. She was willing to take risks. We open the book with her taking a huge risk. It gives us a lot of the world very quickly, because with two suns in the sky, with it always being daylight, like obviously there's huge differences.
Yes, I liked that aspect. I wish it had been explored more. We'll talk about that later.
And then we got yeeted. And so we never got a chance. And so like it's almost like we get a different character each time. So as I read through the first part, I really liked the characterization. I really liked the character. I really liked the storyline. I was ready for an adventure.
I'm going to read Brimstone just because I hope we go back to the first city.
Yeah.
I felt like and this is what was disjointed about the novel, there was so much more world building for Human City in the first 3 chapters than we get in the entire rest of the book for the Fae realm. And like, I don't know I know you listened to it as well, but the map, I'm going to share my screen with you and I'm going to show you the map for the world, and you'll see like, we didn't go to like 60% of the map. So as much as I complain about Sarah's map and how it's empty, at least things only appear in Sarah's map once we've gone there.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like I'm being fluffed a little bit.
It's almost like the plot automatically goes out the window as soon as the male main character shows up.
Yes, she gets a fucking lobotomy. Like, it's crazy. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Look at this map. Look at this map. That is a good map. I like me that map. I don't recall hearing the word the Midnight Eye in the 17 hours that I listened to this book twice. There's the Battle of Ajun Gate. Okay, remember that. Don't remember anything about this Terran Ross Island. Was that mentioned? No. Western Dow, that wasn't mentioned. Kalish was mentioned. Gilthry was mentioned. Don't remember the Shallow Mountains being mentioned. Don't remember the Shield being mentioned. We didn't go to any of these places. We didn't go to any of these places.
Yeah, because we only went to a couple of places.
Yeah, we went like 2 places. Yeah. So, but you know what I was thinking about? Because I hate portaling. And I hate winnowing.
Yeah.
And the reason that I hate portaling and winnowing is because one of the things that we complain about a lot in ACOTAR and in a lot of these Romantasy books is the lack of adventure in the adventure novel, and also the delivery of world building through dialogue rather than through characters experiencing the world. Yeah. And I had a driving thought, I guess it was when I was driving here. Is it because we winnow instead of ride horses in our fantasy novels?
Kind of. Because they could winnow anywhere. Technically, it should open up the world more.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because I thought of Moore's POV in Frost and Starlight, where she thinks about how she's riding her horse around her estate. And I was like, oh my gosh, we get to see this whole estate. There's woods. We learned so much about Moore and that she has a secret fucking house and all of this stuff. And we learned that because she rode to her secret house, or she was riding around her grounds of her secret estate on horseback.
But somebody could have just as easily winnowed and then walked through part of it, right? Like, you could still technically do it.
If she had done that, she would have told us, here I am in my secret house. And then we wouldn't have gotten the experience of the estate. So
Possibly. There's other ways. I mean, we did because we
yeah,
definitely got like leisurely horsebacks when people wanted to add them in.
right.
And I think that if the adventure is we have to go somewhere and we have to do it on foot, then obviously the adventure happens along the way because you have to literally journey
You
somewhere.
have to journey somewhere and do stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I felt like even when we were on horseback in this,
Hmm.
was because of the ability to winnow, I mean portal, whatever you want to call it, it made it useless. And then also it was mostly just there so that we could have banter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't To segue, the banter was so hit and miss for me in this.
Yeah.
Carrion's banter, great.
Great.
Great. Carrion
Wonderful.
was standout.
Yeah.
Carrion's banter was great.
Carrion was my favorite.
I liked the interactions between Ren and Everlane. I liked the interactions between Carrion and everyone.
Yeah.
And then Kingfisher sometimes had good banter and sometimes didn't, and it was because at no point did Saris have good banter. Like I don't know. So where are we at in the outline? I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
The main couple.
Oh, I was gonna. You know what I forgot to tell you?
Oh, what?
Brimstone comes out on November 18th. That is the task that I was sent off to do. Yes. So here we are. I don't know how many minutes in, 41 minutes in. Yeah. Now to close out our intro. Brimstone comes out on November 18th.
Yeah.
Where were we?
Kingfisher banter, Saris being terrible at it, and the two of them together.
Yeah. Two of them together. Real quick before we talk about Saris and Kingfisher.
Yeah.
Because I'm sad to leave our desert city. You had said to me, was this supposed to be dark like it could have been, but it wasn't? And I agree. Would you rather have this been darker, or would you rather this have been more adventurous? Because I think it would be easier to make this adventurous than it would be to make it dark. Because to go back to our earlier discussion, I have no idea where I don't know what part of this is dark. I don't know what these people on Reddit are talking about. Like no part of this book to me was dark. It was all
the opening,
very vanilla to me. Everything about it was vanilla to me.
It'd be a lot easier to do it as an adventure, and I think it opened that way. I think it would have been a lot more fun that way. And I think that
maybe like a caper or a mystery, because she's a thief.
Yeah.
She's a copper stealing desert punk. That is what she.
Yeah. And it never comes back up. Like, the thieving doesn't really come back up.
Right. Yeah. So I liked the forging plot.
Yeah.
And I liked that she did not acquire new skills.
Yeah.
Everything that she does in this novel, she already knew how to do. Thank you, Callie. Yeah. Thank you, Callie Hart. I could kiss you right now. Because everyone knows I hate a training montage. I hate a training montage. There is because the quote unquote training montage scene in this is not a training montage. It's not written like a training montage. It's written like I know how that scene is intended to play out on screen.
Yeah.
So it's fine. But yeah, she already knew how to forge. What, I'm using the wrong terminology.
Work in a forge.
To work in a forge. She knew how to work in a forge. She forgets all the OSHA safety regulations once she gets to the Fae Forge, but that's besides the point.
Calling her little OSHA was also killing me, because I was just cracking OSHA violation jokes inside my head as I was reading this.
Yes. Yes.
My
husband works in the trades. This book was difficult for me. Yes, the OSHA thing.
Like inside my head, I imagined the acronym. I saw the acronym.
Me too. I saw the logo in my mind every time. Yeah. Yeah. It's a kink, I guess, Yeah. Somebody's kink somewhere. Yeah. So moving on, speaking of kink, moving on to our main couple, Kingfisher and Saris.
Yep.
Do we buy them as a couple? They're face hand. This is ACOTAR fanfiction, right?
Feels a lot like it.
At one point, Autumn Court is mentioned. Okay. I know I'm taking us off on a tangent because that is what I do. Promise we're going to talk about Kingfisher and Saris and their relationship. But at one point, someone says something about Autumn Court, and then it's never mentioned ever again. Courts are not described that way ever again. And when I heard that, I was like, was this ACOTAR fan fiction? And in the edit, that sentence got missed.
Quite possibly.
Right?
I mean, and I couldn't tell if I was just so immersed in ACOTAR for so long it felt like the same thing. But there are definitely moments where I was like, does just all Romantasy live in the same universe?
Yeah, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that.
Very similar.
When we get to world building, we'll talk about that. Is it the authors are like, everybody knows what these tropes are, so I don't have to explain them? And I don't like that.
Yeah.
You should be writing your own book. Your world should stand on its own 2 legs or 3 legs or 6 legs, however many legs you want your world to have, it should stand on them. But yes, buying them as a couple, they are face-and, right? And I don't think that just because Anthony Palmini is the voice actor. I would think that even if I read it, even though I listened to it, like the fact that he was like trapped for 100 years instead of 50 years, he was trapped for 100 years, twice as long.
And couldn't tell anybody what was going on, so he was misunderstood when he came back.
Yeah, and like, is accused of being this murderous villain. He's very Rhysand.
Yep.
And like, so first few chapters, Saris, not Feyre in any way.
No.
Once she is on page with Kingfisher, Feyre as the day is long. She gets a fucking lobotomy. She becomes stupid. She becomes combative for no reason. Like, I could not stand Saris for 75% of this book, but I loved Saris so much in the opening chapter.
Yeah. I'll give Saris this. She does actually try to escape at one point.
Yeah, that's true.
Like,
and she does like, I did like how she was like, she was very obvious about it, but when she's trying to like gather information about where like the Quicksilver pools are, and she's like asking people questions. So like, where does this hallway lead to? If there's a fire, should I escape? Not trying to escape, but if there's a fire, where are the exits? Like, she was very like, that's very much how she was like going about trying to acquire information.
And then proceeds to run. Flat out run the whole way through the castle.
Yeah, nothing to see here. Not drawing attention to myself.
With the assumption that nobody would recognize her, even though clearly there's a heightened sense of smell in this one too.
I did like how smell was at least was addressed in a humorous way. Okay, I think I remember texting you about this on my first read, that because I always think about how the scent thing bothers you so much in ACOTAR. But in this, I really liked the scene where Kingfisher is teasing her about everybody can smell how turned on you are. Yeah. And then she gets embarrassed, and then she thinks about how to adjust her behavior, knowing that this is a thing. And so it's like, I liked that. And I thought of you when I read that. I was like, I wonder how Mara feels about this. Because it's much actually better, treated as a thing, as a thing to create, to move the plot and create conflict.
Yeah. Yeah, and at least it was consistently thought about at correct points throughout the rest of the book.
Yeah.
And I appreciate it.
I liked Everlane coming in and being like, why does it smell like a brothel in here?
Yeah.
That was such an anime scene.
Yeah.
That was such an anime scene. I could see her with the, it was such an anime scene. Yeah.
Because as we discussed, this is an isekai storyline.
Yes. Okay, we discussed this off screen. So Mara, you can start over and say everything that you said to me off screen again.
That is the literal like trope. It comes directly from anime. It's where somebody dies and is reincarnated.
Is that how you say it?
Isekai, I think is how you say it. And you die and you just come back in a brand new world. Usually they have like brand new powers too. Or something's different for them that way as well.
Right, because then they have to discover their new body. Yeah.
Yeah. So that wasn't quite the same.
What is the one where like they get pulled into like they're playing a video game and then they have to go live in the game? Is that the same genre? But it's similar of like you're swooped out of your world and into this new world. I think the game one might be different because they already know everything about the game.
Yeah.
And then that helps them, a tool that they use to survive.
Isekai works for that too.
Oh, it does? Okay, yeah. But yeah, that is exactly what this is. That is exactly what this is. So this bothered me on my, it didn't bother me on my first read because I was just letting the thing play out. It bothered me on my second read through was why Heron didn't just behead her. And the reason Heron didn't behead her was because she needed to get swooped into the new world. That's the reason. Because it didn't make any sense. Like if her execution has been ordered, like he would just execute her. I'm going to stab you in the stomach with my sword and then stab you in the shoulder with my dagger and then wait patiently for you to be rescued by a magical being. Like the action beats of that scene were ridiculous. Also, I liked Heron. I thought Heron was going to turn out to be Kingfisher in disguise. No, I was waiting. Okay, when we get to the chapter 54 fucking trope, I thought that Heron, until Kingfisher came out of the Quicksilver, and then even through the rest of the novel, I was like, he's gonna have turned out to be Heron, right? He's gonna have turned out to be like watching her whole life, right? Right?
Nope.
I liked Heron. I miss Heron. I hope he Deus Ex Machinas his way through something. And then he pops out from a bush when the plot needs him in book 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I just liked him. Yeah.
And it would have been easy enough for the command from the queen to just be, torture her to death. Like make it make sense.
Why was the command not torture her?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Back to Cerys and Kingfisher. And whether or not we buy them as a couple, because we got sidetracked. No. What do you think? I know you liked them more than Faysand.
I could handle them more than Faysand. I don't know why. Like, I was just
you can't put your finger on it.
I can't. Maybe it'll come, maybe while we're talking I'll figure it out, but like...
So maybe... I think for me, it's Cerys versus Feyre.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everything I am about to say, unfortunately, I have to preface with, everything I am about to say is irrelevant once we get to the quote-unquote chapter 54, just like everything that we read is fucking irrelevant once we get to the chapter 54.
Mm-hmm.
We'll talk about that, because I fucking hate it. Because Feyre is very heart-led, you do get to see her. So Cerys's hatred of Kingfisher is so over the top and unrealistic and not rooted in what I would assume Cerys's politics to be based on her upbringing. Whereas Feyre, because she's heart-led and impulsive, I can buy her and what Feyre and Rhysand go through together under the mountain in book 1, I can buy some trauma bonding, and I can buy some like her, because he helped her under the mountain, she is able to question Tamlin and Lucian's, question people's opinions about Rhysand as being incongruent to her experiences of Rhysand. Yeah. And then also like, yes, he hurt her under the mountain, but then he explained it, and then she chooses to take him at his word and go forward. So there's things that make sense in Feyre's journey that I feel, for me, don't make sense in Cerys's journey. Okay, we need to talk about the dog throne room scene. The chapter, The Dog. The one where he gets drug into the throne room. In the very beginning. Cerys is like, okay, she's tank girl. She's fighting the elites. She's stealing copper. She's this punk, right? Yeah. She's this anti-establishment, anti-authority, I wish I could kill the queen character, right? Yeah. Okay. Then she gets to Fairy World, and all of a sudden she's like, the king must be good, and this guy must be bad because the king and the mob say so. That is so incongruent to the Cerys that I just got introduced to. Like,
especially when she just got saved by that individual.
Yeah, especially when she just got saved by that individual. And we as humans tend to, like, I shouldn't say we as humans, because obviously there are a lot of people in the world who instantly take the views of the mob. That's how mobs form, right? That's why most people have mob mentality. But usually the protagonists of novels specifically don't. Otherwise your book would be boring. And so like it just doesn't make sense for her to have mob mentality in that moment. Her knee-jerk reaction seems like it should be punk versus mob. She should feel an immediate affinity to him as an outsider herself. She should feel empathy to, like, why are they hitting him and spitting him? Like Feyre in Under the Mountain with Rhysand, when people are like touching him and stuff like that, she clocks it as being weird.
Right. And to top it all off, the person who's been taking care of her is also worried about Kingfisher. So she's also being prompted again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And instead, she's just like, they accused him of being a mass murderer. He must be a terrible person.
Yeah. Yeah. Which, like, that could be like having empathy for him and also being wary, right? Like,
yeah,
he's an unknown quantity, but like instead it's because she's just trying to set up enemies to lovers.
Right. There was no need for this to be enemies to lovers.
No real reason. Like, yeah.
And that can segue into our larger conversation about enemies to lovers. If you're going to do enemies to lovers, one, they should be enemies.
Mm-hmm.
And two, your enemies to lovers should have a narrative point that is not just enemies to lovers. So they should be enemies. They should have a reason for being enemies. And there should be a realistic journey and reason for them to see each other differently and then now no longer be enemies in order to become lovers, or to become lovers, and being lovers is what allows them to, that intimacy forces recognition, or recognition forces intimacy. But this was not this. Yeah,
this was done for marketing.
And I don't understand why. I don't understand. I love enemies to lovers. I love it. I love angst. There was no angst in the enemies to lovers. There was instant attraction, and Cerys repeatedly saying, I hate this person, I hate this person, I hate this person. But her hate wasn't based on anything.
Yeah.
And then also when she's like, they have the argument where Everlane wants her to go to the library with her, and Kingfisher wants her to go check out the forge. And she's like, he hadn't lied to me, so I'm going to go with him. Well, okay, first of all, Everlane has not lied to you either.
Yeah.
And you have no idea if he's lying to you. You met this person yesterday.
And you're supposed to hate them.
You're supposed to hate them. And if you hate them, you should be suspicious of them.
Yeah.
Her fucking conclusions are not logical. And when Feyre makes illogical conclusions, I buy it because Feyre's dumb and ignorant. Like, she's literally ignorant. She's written ignorant. She's illiterate. And she has limited life experience because every single day she woke up and tried to kill some rabbits from sunup to sundown. That doesn't, Feyre did not have, and then sometimes she fucked Isaac in a barn. So Feyre's life did not allow her to become a fully developed adult.
Right.
Cerys has had time and experience. She's like 26, right?
She's 24.
Oh, is she 24? And okay, she's still young, but being a street urchin.
And we can explain that she was given access to a library. She was given access to individuals who taught her things and information and how to do things.
Don't set me up with the expectation of having a competent character, because I love a competent character, and then take away her brain in chapter 6.
Yeah.
She should have been smart all the way through. She should have been suspicious and conniving, and maybe like some of their enemies to lovers tension could have been that I almost would have done it where, like, even if, let's keep Kingfisher the same, right? But have Cerys be like, do sneaky shit.
Yeah.
And do undermining shit because she's got an agenda of like, I'm going to use these people and then escape, because that would be very street urchin.
Yeah.
That would be like, use the tools at your disposal, say what you need to say to get these people to trust me so that I can fleece them and escape and go home and save my brother. That should have been her guiding, and that would have been where the tension was, because I think Hart tried to do that. I think she tried to, but she kind of Cerys just told us, eventually I'm going to go back. And then she told us the moment she changed her mind, she told us. So it wasn't delivered in a satisfying way through the narrative and through the actions of the characters.
There's plenty of ways in which she could have continued to be a thief and be a spy. She could have gone to the library with Everling and continued to question her, or then maybe followed Kingfisher around at one point when she had some free time, right? Like, giving
Yeah.
somebody the slip, followed him around,
Yes.
tried to get more
Oh my gosh.
information.
Yes.
Through a
And
book.
in following him, overheard a conversation that caused her to think differently about him.
Yeah.
And then it gave her an internal conflict. And she'd be like, I have this image of him and I'm attached to this image of him because I want to hate him, but it's now incongruent with this new information that I've.
And you know what I think part of that is too? I feel like I get the feeling that this author and probably many Romantasy authors want the characters to start as enemies, but don't want to have to deal with them truly having done anything worth forgiving, so that when the relationship starts, boundaries haven't been crossed previously in a way that
writing, and I don't like it.
Yeah.
That's that worried about somebody calling you problematic on Reddit, so you preemptively change your storyline and writing style.
Either that or that's just them wanting to make the relationship so strong that they were treating each other right from the beginning, even if it wasn't completely right, right?
Yeah,
like there's still that influence.
With falling in love with a hero. Because to me, and this brings up what I know that we're barreling towards. Don't call him morally gray if he's not morally gray. Kingfisher's a hero.
Yeah.
Kingfisher's a hero. He is not morally gray. He is a hero.
He doesn't do anything that's morally gray.
He does not do a single morally gray thing in
Ceres
this
should
book.
have been the morally gray one.
Huh? Ceres should have been the morally gray one. Yes, yeah. Because actually Ceres is quite morally gray.
And that would have worked out really well in trying to turn around a little bit on its head the trope of him being the one who knew about the pain.
Yes.
Because then that should be influencing how well he treats her while she's taking advantage of that and her not realizing why he's giving her these opportunities to take advantage.
I like that. I did not think that, but you know what? You saying it right now, I would have loved that. And that would have given us chapters 1 through 3, Ceres, through the rest of the book. Yes, because Ceres is morally gray. She steals because she wants money, because she wants to take her brother out of the third ward. That's morally gray. Doing something wrong because you believe your reason is good is what makes you morally gray. The concept of a morally gray character is rooted in the idea of moral relativism. And I won't lecture you about philosophy. I see you looking at me. Audience can go look up moral relativism. And Mara's also laughing because I sent her a meme about moral relativity the other day. But that is what it is. Morally gray is just sanitizing the term moral relativism for people who have not taken Philosophy 101. Yeah. I had my Philosophy 101 class was so much fun. And my ethics class, I had the same teacher for 101 as I had for ethics. And my ethics class only had 6 people in it. Like, it just happened like the semester that I took it, or it wasn't super popular, which I don't think it wasn't popular because he was the most popular teacher at the school.
Yeah.
Everyone was in love with this teacher. Students used to follow him to his car. He was your classic philosophy teacher. He was tall and lanky, and he had like a salt and pepper ponytail, like and like hipster glasses. He was an archetypical philosophy instructor.
Yeah.
And it was like, it's this conservative area where most people taking it probably had never really been in an environment where they could talk about a wide range of philosophical and metaphysical topics before, because just the social environment that we exist in here, it's not conducive for that.
Yeah.
I live in real life ACOTAR fandom every day.
Yeah, yes you do.
Where everything is super conformed. And if you deviate in any way, you are personally attacking the thing that you are deviating from, and people can't handle it.
Yeah.
But no, there were only 6 people in my ethics class, and it was good. Everybody did the reading. It wasn't like everyone was a good student. And so we would just show up, and he would blow through his lecture. He'd be like, all right, boom, 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 we're all done. And then we'd spend an hour just talking about like whatever the topic was, like moral relativity for like a full hour. It was good. Anyway, sorry. Where was I? What were you going to say?
He's not a morally gray character, Ceres is, or should have been. And that would have made more sense for enemies to lovers, because even if they weren't real enemies, he would be the one standing in the way of her getting what she wanted.
Yes.
Which would create tension, which is what was missing.
Tension is missing. Enemies to lovers relies on tension.
Yeah.
And I think it relies on angst. I think there is a way to do it without a lot of angst. You can have external angst. The angst doesn't necessarily need to be coming from the relationship itself.
Yeah.
Like in Azarus fan fiction, obviously the source of the angst is the relationship itself.
Yes.
Okay. But if you go to another dynamic, was in Don't Let the Forest In, would you have some of the angst was the relationship itself,
yeah.
But I think most of the angst was Thomas. But a lot of the angst was external, without giving away the twist of the novel.
Yeah.
It was the things that they were dealing with were causing angst, and were also a layer of angst. So they had the layer of angst that was the relationship, the layer of angst that was the external conflict. This didn't have any angst, and it also didn't have any tension.
Which I think is directly related to the fact that the morally gray male main character is always secretly a good guy.
That's a good point.
Like,
yes. Yeah, because that's, like I said before, why I don't like the chapter 54. Like, what is the point of, like, you give me this character with Rhysand, all of ACOTAR, and then 75% of Akamath. You've given me a character who's complicated and traumatized and interesting and complex, and I spend a book and 3/4 of another book falling in love with that Rhysand, and then you pop a whole new Rhysand out from behind a bush and you say, guess what? Everything I have ever said is a lie, and I'm a completely different person than I've presented myself as. I've been secretly good the whole time. We're secretly mated. It's like all the tension gets let out of the room. All of it. It's gone. I just don't understand the point of undermining this brilliant character that you've built. And then, like I say all the time, I can't stand Rhysand until we get to Silver Flames and I get to see him as complex again.
Yeah. Which you've made a note in here too about how lying is not a romantic trait. And
yes, so lying is not a romantic trait. I don't care what your reason is, Mara sighs. But what?
I wonder, and I might be off on this one, if so many women, since that is who this is oftentimes aimed at, have had
more than half of YA readership is women ages 30, like in their 30s and 40s. And I think I don't know the exact statistic, but I think it's upwards from 75% of Romantasy readers are also women aged in their 30s and 40s. It's not, which doesn't make sense why these protagonists are so young. Yeah. But that's a whole other conversation. What were you going to say? Yeah. It is mostly women, and it is mostly women our age. So
that most of them have had to make compromises with men who were not truthful and have stayed and would like a chapter 54 for their life that they're never going to get.
I have so many problems with that. And you know what? I mean, you're probably right. Mara! I come up with these theses. I'm crying. You're right. Oh, you're right. You're right. It's wish fulfillment.
Yeah. Yeah. Which makes them a little sad.
I just want it to be that they're not, I want the answer to be that the author was pushed to publish and she skipped a bunch of editing steps and that she'll get better in the future, but you're right.
It just happens too frequently, because then all the authors would have to be in that situation.
Yeah, although I will say that I think, and we've talked about this before, again, I was thinking about this I was thinking about in the shower and not in my car. Because I went down a rabbit hole on like we talked about a couple weeks ago, queer authors writing queer stories versus straight women writing romance, or queer stories, but especially writing romance. And that is, I thought about what you said, and again, I think you're right. It is so much harder for a queer author to get published, because the publisher at the end of the day would rather have a straight white woman in her 30s or 40s to put on the picture on the back of the book. Yeah. In order to sell that book. Doesn't matter who wrote it. That's who they want to sell it for. And because that's who they want to sell it to. So that's who they want to sell it for. Publishers want to publish diverse stories, but they don't want to pay diverse authors. Yeah. And so I do think that you are correct in that, because I was thinking about that and I was like, and then because that is the case, again, to tie it to another conversation we had about so much of the sexual content in these books, in Romantasy and in romance in general, feels like it's written by people who haven't had a lot of sex. Yeah. Which would make sense when you look at like people who are in a position to have their husband pays for everything, so they have time to read and write, and they have time to query publishers, and they have time and if they can't get a publisher to pick up their novel, they have disposable income to publish it themselves. Yeah. And that is not the case with any other demographic. Yeah. It is. I'm not saying that like women have it easy in the patriarchy, but wealthy white women have it the easiest, you know? Yeah. So absolutely. And so I know this kind of went off on a tangent, and I don't know if it will remain in the episode, but it does feel a lot of it is inexperience. A lot of it is inexperience, or like you said, they made a choice in their 20s, they stayed with that person, and now they're in their 30s and their 40s, and they're kind of stuck with that decision. Yeah. They're not stuck with that decision, but they think they are. Yeah. 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 And I think it also shows in the fact that I think one of the other things there is that they may have sex, but it's exactly one type of sex, which again is because they're with that one person that they met in their 20s. And so what you see again and again is that exact same, very much the accepted type of sex. And we've talked about this before in ACOTAR. Nobody is that old. And doesn't get weirder than this. Like, yes, which is why I liked Carrion. Yes. Carrion is DTF. Yeah. I wanted all of his sex scenes. Yes, I would rather read a book about Carrion. Yes. I don't want Callie Hart to write it, though. No. Yeah, I don't want Callie Hart to write it, though. I'm going to show you now to go back to where I went on my thing that I was going to show you. I wanted to show you the cover of one of her books, one of her previous books. Oh God, I feel like I don't even know if I can. Just tell me. Let me Google it too. Give me a Revenge at Raleigh High. Yeah, if you look at the cover of The Rebel of Raleigh High, that's high school. High school. First of all, those are adults. There's a photograph of adults. Yeah. But no, that is no. I'm just gonna keep saying no. And it's like intended for readers 17 and up. Outside of the state of New York, that is a crime. That is a crime. Okay. Yep. Like, yep. And I'm not some old fuddy-duddy. Yeah. Well, and I mean, to be fair, most of the high school shows are also filled with people in their 30s. So. Yeah. They're filled with people in their 30s. Definitely the accepted, I guess, expectation for that, but also, no, thank you. Yeah. And so it looks like her writing experience was very much like, you know, that fanfic. I hate comparing things like this to fan fiction, because I think there is brilliant fan fiction out there. Mm-hmm. And I have to question why something like Our Bodies Possessed by Light cannot find a publisher, but something like this can. And that, I think, says a lot about how we view women in our society, how we view sex in our society, what we view the purpose of women and sex to Why be. Does this high school student have a full back tattoo? Okay, sorry, I've got to stop. Why? Because this book is written for adults. And you know what? If you are writing a sex book for adults, why not just make the characters adults? I mean, she knows her intended audience. And her intended audience is maybe not women in their 30s and 40s. Maybe it's men in their 50s and 60s. Yeah. Okay, that was a sexist thing for me to say. I mean, to be fair, what I said was peaked in high school. And it's just more wish fulfillment. Maybe that's what it is, peaked in high school. Yeah. Is this now a good time to talk about the mating bond? Is there anything else we want to say about Saris and Kingfisher and their chemistry? The chemistry felt very forced because it felt told to me as well. Yeah, it did. And like, it was in, like, liking somebody and being attracted to somebody are not the same thing. Liking somebody as a human, like as a person, and being attracted to somebody or don't have to be the same thing. But the way you present that matters. Yes. So I really wish I had done a little bit more prep. because listening to it in my car driving here, she had this line that was like, it was like a whole paragraph of how much she hated him and also how hot she thought he was. It reminded me a lot of Fourth Wing, which you have not read.
No.
But Ceres's internal narrative, internal dialogue, and Violet's internal dialogue are so similar. Like I said before, it's that ellipses ... oh my God, he's so hot.
Yeah.
It's very like what the author vaguely thinks a teenage girl's inner brain feels like, which is an interesting choice because they're not teenage girls. They're supposed to be adult women. But anyways, it is very much like that. I hate him. He's so hot. I hate him. He's so hot. And like, that's literally what's written on the page. And I was thinking about I read a lot of Azris fan fiction, which is enemies to lovers, where a lot of times the premise is that they have a mate bond that they have to like overcome. The mate bond makes them super attracted to each other, but then they're just like, and that's the conflict. And the mark of like a mature writer or a more experienced writer or like a higher writing quality, I should say. Low writing quality is ... he's so hot. Oh my God. I hate him so much. Higher writing quality is the paragraph is all about the reasons maybe that they find this person infuriating. And then at the last sentence of the paragraph is then a thought like it vaguely like mentions that they're attractive, and then the character saying, but Eris was certainly not attracted to the Shadow Singer. You know what I mean? It has to do with your character's vocabulary, in the vocabulary of their inner mind, and their voice, and developing that character's voice, and their internal voice and their external voice should match. And yes, I think Ceres's does to an extent, because she's insufferable both inside and outside. But yeah, just having her similes sucked.
Yeah.
Her similes sucked. Similes hard, I get it, but if you're not good at it, don't do it. It's easy. That's the fix. If you figure out what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then try and avoid your weaknesses and lean heavier on your strengths.
Yeah. Because, I mean, what it comes down to is, and we talk about this a lot, she's telling, not showing. And what you were describing was showing, even if it is still an internal monologue or dialogue, like there's still that sense of, here are all the reasons that I do not like this individual. However, you can mention something that is objectively attractive about them, and they frame it as objectively, even though clearly it's subjectively because it's inside their own brain. Something like the actual denial, not just being like, I'm in denial.
Yes, even if you want to add humor and have your final line be something like, and his stupid, infuriating, stupid hair.
Yeah.
But that should contrast with your very logical list of reasons that you are not into this person, because the comedy lies in the contrast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's almost like they're afraid readers won't pick up on it.
Yeah, which is to steal from, there's a podcast called Unresolved Textual Tension, and one of the hosts said once, I'm going to butcher this, said that when you're writing a romance, your audience should be one step ahead of the characters, and that's part of what is satisfying about the pacing of romance, is that anticipation is a huge part of tension building in romance. And I would agree with that. I agree with that sentence. I agree with that I like being one step ahead. I think even outside of romance, in just tension in general, you don't want to tell your readers what's about to happen, but you do want your pacing and your narrative to craft a situation where they can anticipate something so that they can be satisfied when it happens.
Yeah,
I want to root for the romance. I want to feel like when they do finally get together, I want to be satisfied. I want to be like, yes, I fucking love this ship. That's what I want to feel like.
Yeah.
So, and also her banter with Carrion was sexier.
So I have a friend who slept with somebody once to make a point. Did not like somebody, thought they were super cocky. Fuck them, and mid-fuck yelled at him, we're not having sex, I'm proving a point.
Yeah, like her logic made sense and was like Ceres in the first 4 chapters.
Yeah.
Ceres in the first 4 chapters. fucking great. And honestly, I think that is what, unfortunately, like the Rhysand POV in ACOTAR.
Right. Yeah.
The openers, it opened so strong that it made the rest of the novel a letdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It did.
Not that ACOTAR was a letdown. It's a letdown in comparison to the Rhysand POV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there are obviously parts about ACOTAR that I obsess about, like anytime Eris is on the page. But, like, as a whole novel, that Rhysand POV is so good that it set the bar so high. And the first opening, like, the bar for Ceres got set so high that I do feel like she got a fucking lobotomy in, like, chapter 6.
The moment the male main character shows up.
The moment the male main character shows up. Yeah. Do we want to talk about the mating bond?
Sure. Talking about the lobotomy and then also the power dynamic between the two of them with, lying about things. The mating bond.
Yeah. So to recap, I mean, everybody that has made it this far, I'm sure knows what we're talking about.
Yeah.
But that like in ACOTAR, 75% or 80% of the way through the novel. And you know what? Okay. I texted Mara on my first read. Mara and I said, because I was like halfway through the book, right? Yeah. And I was like, I knew they were going to be fated mates because one, the book is marketed as fated mates. So first, if you are going to market your book up front to your reader as fated mates, don't fucking try and pull the wool over my eyes. Like, okay. Again, if you're going to call it an enemies to lovers, make them fucking enemies, okay? And if you're gonna market it as fated mates, don't try and trick me about it. Yeah. Because I texted Mara and I said, she better not take me, because the novel was progressing. We were getting pretty far. Yeah. We're pretty far into the book. And I was like, there's not much book left, okay? She better not take me 80% of the way through this novel and then be like, guess what? It was all a lie. They were mates the whole time. That's exactly what she did. Yep. And it was just like in ACOTAR. He says, we're mates. And also I hid it from you to protect you. From what? Yeah. I don't know what he was protecting her from. Tell me your thoughts, because I'm confused.
It felt inevitable just because of the genre.
It felt inevitable because it says it on the back of the dust jacket.
Yeah. Which means that it could have been a point of contention much sooner, and we could have gotten the reasoning for him, maybe, as we discussed earlier. If Ceres we wanted to see continue to be a thief, a sneak, and a liar. So if that continued, it would change the power dynamic, because then she'd be trying all this shit. He'd know that they were mates. That would be influencing his decisions around her. She wouldn't know and be taking advantage of that. That would have been interesting and compelling. What we've got right now is the opposite of that. And so, like, there's that sense of, like, and it happens all the time, and it's not just in Romantasy, right? It happened a lot in comics, where somebody hides their identity to protect their loved ones, when they do the exact fucking opposite every single time. The lack of information is what gets people in trouble. And it's like such an annoying fucking trope, because it's just like, either tell somebody so that they're aware, or like let us see some sort of conflict with it. Because right now he has information about the world she's now in that she's never been in before, the people in those worlds, the relationships between everybody. She's figuring everything out on her own, like from scratch, with like Everlane giving her like basic information on how etiquette goes. And
I Everlane next to Carrion. Everlane's my favorite character.
Yeah.
Okay, like in order, I know I'm taking off on a tangent. Okay, I'll wait. I'll rank my favorite characters when we get to our side character segment.
Okay.
Finish what you were going to say.
We're getting there. We'll get there soon.
Today. I'm sorry.
Well, because she already has such little information, he's withholding a very big piece that could have some sort of effect on her. And what I didn't like is the fact that it didn't seem to have any sort of effect on her. So if you're having enemies to lovers and there's a secret like mate situation, then that should have been either a bigger deal, because then did she have a choice in being attracted to him? And does she now hate him more?
Yes.
And also, shouldn't he try harder to withhold if he's going to be a secret good guy?
Also, to take it another direction, if you are insistent on keeping it a secret from a character, do not also try to keep it a secret from your audience.
Yeah.
Because it forces you into a reveal that then lets all the tension out of the room when you still have novels and novels and novels left to go. Yeah. So Mara and I forced Mara to read this YA series called Dark Rise. How far into Dark Rise are you? You're finished with Dark Rise, you're in Dark Air, right?
Yes. And I'm maybe 2 or 3 chapters into Dark Air.
So you know about, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right.
I believe so.
Yes. You know about, I'll cut this. You know about, right?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So, because I'm not going to give anything away, everybody needs to go read this. Although I want everyone in the world to. These books are my new fucking religion. I'm obsessed. C.S. Pacat is a master of narrative tension. She's amazing, and she's really good at keeping a secret from a character while delivering information about that secret to the reader in increasing increments. She does it in Captive Prince as well. Like there's a it's not a secret about one of the characters.
Yeah.
But one of the characters, the protagonist, Damon, is, even though it's not a secret, it may as well be a secret because he's so fucking obtuse to it. Right? Mm-hmm. There's this, and it's and like Mara always talks about, like you always talk about, Mara, that the withholding of information or the lack of information should result in a consequence. Yeah. Damon's lack of understanding about this very important conflict and the context of this conflict results in a huge consequence. That 3 books of him being dumb about this topic result in book 3, the climactic consequence. Yeah. So it's not there for shock value. It's not there for a ha gotcha moment. It is, you are from page 1, book 1. This is an important, I'm giving it away now because I'm telling you that it's important. But there is a contextual fact about the situation that Damon is ignorant of. And his ignorance builds even as the narrative delivers the information to the reader. By the time you get to the scene, you know everything. Damon should know everything, but doesn't. Consequence. Huge consequence. It leads into the climax of the 3rd book. And that is so satisfying for a reader. To be steps ahead of the protagonist, to be like, so if she wanted to keep the mating bond a secret, or if any kind of romantasy series or romance or whatever, they want to keep the mating bond a secret, the secret keeping should result in a consequence. Yeah. Just like Rhysand keeping the secret of Feyre as pregnancy should result in a consequence. Yeah. Like Rhysand's secret keeping is a character trait that he has. I wouldn't change that character trait. It's what he did in Velaris, right? It's what he does with Feyre. It's what he does with the mate bond. Rhysand is consistent as a character about his secret keeping. What's frustrating for both Mara and I is that it doesn't deliver anything productive to the narrative. When it could. Its potential is there for conflict, but then it doesn't. It's just like, oh, he kept a secret. The secret's been revealed. Feyre forgives him. The end. Yeah. What was it all for then? That's how I felt about this. What was it all for?
Because I think it's supposed to intensify the romance, and since it does that for the reader, it doesn't tend to play into the plot for whatever reason. I think it's just there for it to be extra intense and romantic.
Have you noticed that they always have sex before the mate bond reveal? Or there's some kind of sexual activity that happens before the mate bond reveal? Yeah. And like, it's almost like the trope is like, I feel like the message they're trying to give me is that their love is real because they fell in love without her knowing about the mate bond, therefore her love is authentic. But if he knows about the mate bond, which is an intense attraction and uncontrollable sexual desire, if he knows about it and she doesn't, that's just magical roofies.
Which is ironic considering the fact that I think what they're trying to do is the exact opposite, which is...
That's what I'm saying. I think they're trying to do the exact opposite of what ends up being written on page. Yeah. So there's a really good Azrael fan fiction called Our Bodies Possessed by Light. And they're an amazing writer. They're such a talented writer. But in this, Azrael has to come to the realization that what he is experiencing is a mate bond. So there's all kinds of physical cues like feeling like there's electricity on his tongue and all this, there's all this physicality to it in the description of the writing. You've read Our Bodies, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. But anyways, yeah, so they put a lot of like, he doesn't know their mates.
Yeah.
But his suspicion that they're mates builds.
Yeah.
And then like when he starts to be like, I think this is what is happening, and then it's confirmed, yes, this is what's happening, and it's beautiful and it's poetic, and it's delivered really well because you as the reader get to experience the realization along with Azriel.
Yeah.
And like that, I think, is what could have happened here with Saris. Because the pacing is, or not the pacing, but the action beats are there, like with the tattoo and stuff, like how it appears and then disappears.
Yeah.
First of all, if something appears on my body and then disappears off my body, I'm going to that is priority number one, is going to be finding out what happened. Saris had a line where she said something like, I had so many questions, I thought my head would split open. And I was just like, then fucking ask them.
Yeah.
For the love of fucking God, ask someone this question, because that's what I would do, right? If
like what's going on
appeared on your body, would you not say, hey, what's this?
Yeah. And she does, but she also kind of lets it go. And it's just,
I wouldn't let it go. That is not a satisfactory answer.
No. Like all Kingfisher would have had to do is lie.
Yeah. He's already lying.
Yeah.
So once my character is established as a liar, I have a really hard time in the narrative taking anything that they say as at face value. If you were going to tell me that a character is unreliable, now in my mind, I have to always consider them unreliable. That is now a character trait that this character has. Like, that's now a new power that they have in the game.
Yeah.
It's inextricable from their character once established, because that's how writing works.
Yeah.
But I know we talk mate bonds a lot, and we have like a whole mate bonds episode, but yeah, I just feel, how would you have done it? Like, I know, let's pretend that we keep fated mates. I don't think it added anything to the narrative.
As it stands, no. I think it could have, but it didn't.
How would you have made it add something, though? Like, what could it have added to the world?
I think, considering the fact that we have an entire theme at the very end, but we have an entire theme about destiny and fate, it plays well into that. And so I would add that far sooner, when the information that where you are in the city is happenstance done by birth, and that sense of fatalism start there.
Yeah.
Have the mating bond be addressed early on, even if Saris doesn't know about it. But it's again that line of fatalism. And then let us know about the difficulty that Kingfisher has with both keeping the lie, but also how to react to any sort of advances, while also maybe not being able to hold back from banter.
I wouldn't have thought that, but now that you say that, I think that would fit really well with his characterization.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, and I like that too, that contrast of destiny versus fatalism and chance, especially because of what gets introduced in the late stages.
Yeah.
Because then all the other chords of fate are cut except that one, and then it would make that one a little bit more powerful, especially if it was something that they were planning on rejecting.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because then it flips it a little bit. But as it stands, I don't think adding fated mates added anything. We'll see what happens in book 2, because of the way it ended on the whole destiny being outside, being like blessed by the god of chaos as being outside of the strings of fate. Except there's one very significant string, and that is your mate bond.
Yep.
So that's interesting. That's an interesting setup for book 2. But in this book, I wish we could have gone on a journey with Saris about the mate bonds. And that is, I think, what gets robbed from the reader when it's a gotcha reveal in chapter fucking 100 or 54, I guess. And I don't know what chapter it was in this because I listened to it on Audible. But one last thing I would say about it is that even if he was trying to keep it a secret the Ceres that we loved, the Ceres from the beginning, had been consistent through the book, we talk about if she'd been eavesdropping or following, that she, especially if we got to imagine if we had gotten Ceres, we are experiencing these physical changes with her as the reader, you know, like if there had been some kind of physicality to it, like there is in the Our Bodies Possessed by Light story.
Which is the other thing I would add.
And then that prompts her to be, she's sneaking around, she's trying to learn about the world, she's being sneaky, she's got her agenda, but then this thing keeps like interfering with her agenda and she wants to know what it is. And so we are one step ahead of her in that we're pretty sure, we know, we've read enough Romantasy, we know that this is mate bond stuff.
Yeah.
She doesn't know though, and so we get to both know more than her and experience her journey alongside her as she uncovers it. And then rather than him confessing, she confronts him with what she's learned. And then that puts him on the back foot. And then maybe there's something like when he says, I lied, my character would have just been like, so you're a fucking liar then. And then going back to the beginning where that whole scene where she goes with him to the forge instead of with Everlane, and her internal logic is, well, he hasn't lied to me, and so I can trust this person. That now should be all undermined. So it's that your romance takes a huge leap forward, and then your character is like, no, this is our third act breakup.
Yeah.
Right? That's our, rather than a third act mate bond confession reveal, our love is actually more special than other people's love. That's what's missing. We are missing the third act breakup.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're getting a third act getting together rather than a third act breakup, which is weird pacing.
The whole thing was weirdly paced.
No, but Romantasy is billed as romance in a fantasy setting, and yet there's this weird thing where like the romance pacing that you're used to in a romance novel is not there. Like the pacing's all over the place, not just in this book but in a lot of Romantasy books that I've been reading this year. So to wrap up the mate bonds discussion, final thoughts on mate bonds before we move on. Shameless plug for our mate bonds episode. If you want to listen to Mara and I talk/argue about mate bonds for like 2.5 hours, go listen to that.
If you're going to use it, actually use it. Yeah.
I would also say that it can make it too easy. So I would ask the audience what you think about mating bonds. Do you think tossing in a mate bond makes it too easy? And that does it mean that the author doesn't need to do as much to resolve the enemies to lovers core conflict? Because for me, I think that's what's missing. I prefer personally when it is the source of the conflict rather than the resolution to conflict. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about it, Mara? They can answer in the comments, but you can tell me it. I think we're in agreement, but you can say what you're going to say.
I think we are too. I'd rather see it as the point of contention, as the thing that creates tension, because I think that's compelling tension.
All right, moving on to supporting cast. Do you want to transition us from mate bonds to supporting cast? I have no idea how to transition.
So as far as mate bonds, we got a lot less information here. We don't get any other like paired mated characters, but we do get plenty of other characters.
Like my ginger boyfriend, Carrie.
Yes, it's always the ginger.
I fucking love a ginger. I guess, apparently.
Evidently.
Jesse's certainly not a ginger.
Yeah. Because yes, Carrion is the best side character.
I love a mouthy redhead.
Yeah.
That's what he is. Yeah. Just like Eris, just like Lucian. It's a trope.
Yeah.
It's a trope, but I love it.
Yeah. I love this one. Yeah. Because he was, as we kind of touched on earlier,
Nick from Zootopia. Yeah. What did you say? You sent me a text about Carrion. Tell me. Yeah.
That like Carrion, and not just, I think what I said was that he was basically, if he had power, he would be who Helion should have been, just in that like pansexual, like down for anything sort of like attitude. Like it was done well.
Carrion is DTF and he's done really well. He was great comedic relief. I liked the side characters. Once again, the side characters carried this story. I loved Everlane. I liked Ren. I loved Carrion. I liked the little fox. That's another very anime thing. I saw the fox in anime the whole time. Like, His expressions and stuff, I saw them as animated. Hayden was annoying, wouldn't change a thing about him.
Yeah.
The brother, the problematic little brother, wouldn't change a thing about him. I liked the fatherly neighbor as well.
Did Arcane come first or second? Because he reminded me of the father figure.
Yes, he did remind me of that as well. There were a lot of characters that you know what's funny that you bring up Arcane? Because do you know what I would change about Hayden? I would make him young the way that Jinx is young.
Yeah.
I felt like he was too close in age to Cerys. I would have rather liked an age gap more similar to Vi and Jinx.
Yeah.
Because then when she yells at him in the street and the last words she says to him are like so cruel, that was very Arcane.
Yes.
And
yes,
it would have hit really well.
Yeah.
Because they're so independent too, and you know what I mean? And they're such street urchins, for lack of a better word, that his immaturity, like, because what is he, 20?
Something like that. Like, it didn't make sense.
And she's like 24, 25. That if he was like 16, then it would be more, it would be more believable, and it would also be more stressful for Cerys. It would be more stressful for her to be the parent of a child rather than the sibling of an adult.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
In such a high stakes environment that she lives in, because it would just increase the stress level.
I like that. I like that point.
To go back to what you said earlier about the scent, speaking of carrion, I liked the through line of the heightened sense of smell. That whole storyline I loved. I loved that Carrion was, because he had slept with Cerys, that Kingfisher went to go rescue Hayden, but because Carrion smelled like Cerys, that he took him instead, thinking he was her brother. And then Kingfisher got annoyed once he realized what had happened, so he made Carrion take a bath. And then the little nymphs that and the moss. I liked the moss. So good. Yeah. So good. It was lighthearted. It was consistent. His banter was great. The way he wanted to fuck everyone was great. Phenomenal.
Hitting on the married couple through just her. Yeah.
And I loved how she was like, let me say this plainly. I am never going to sleep with you. I am married. And he said, that's not a problem for me. He was like, listen, we're all 1800. And I did like the ending where his blood poisoned the vampire. That was a nice jump out the bush, Deus Ex Machina, done well. Yeah, done well. It was fine. I don't mind a Deus Ex Machina. There was zero foreshadowing for this when it's done well at an appropriate time. I do think it should have killed them all the way. That was weird, but that was because that felt just like she needed the heroes to have the final blow. Yeah. So it diminished the Deus Ex Machina a little bit, but that's nitpicking, I guess. I get what I get. Yeah. What drove you nuts? What felt like filler?
Danya.
Yeah, I knew you were. I didn't like the Danya storyline either. Danya was such a cool character. She did not need to be done dirty like that.
No, not at all.
It was pointless.
There was no reason for it.
No reason for it. Yeah.
Other than for Cerys to have her I'm not like other girls.
Yeah. Thing. Yeah. But which is weird because, okay, I'm not like other girls. I don't wear dresses. I wear pants. So I'm going to vilify then the only other pants wearing female in the novel instead of it being Everlane.
Right. Which again, that is also a very silly thing because if she was raised in a sand city where she's never had to wear a dress, it absolutely makes sense to not want to wear dresses. And that should be the reasoning. It should be absolutely not will I endanger myself like that.
And you could have her make it just simply feel out of sorts. And so she's clinging to a feeling of familiarity, like you said, because it would make her feel unsafe to wear a dress on multiple levels. It's harder to run. Also, I've never worn one before, so I don't feel like myself. There's a lot of much more realistic, much more natural, much more mature ways that you can do, and I don't wear dresses, than just, I'm not like other girls.
Which would have made sense specifically for this character, too. Yeah. And it was like...
But remember, we murdered Tank Girl. And then we got Feyre.
Which again, like, makes no sense beyond it threatened the specialness of the female main character.
Yeah, and I like you pointing out that it would be like it would be consistent, except it wasn't.
Which is like, it's right there. It's right there.
It's right there. It's right there.
And why was Danya so immature?
Like, it was almost like Danya was jealous.
Yeah.
Again, why? Like, there was, because Danya was a cool character.
Yeah.
And I also liked, did you notice that Fenris was in this book? Fenris, the from Tog?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, the guy who sings, that's Fenris.
Yep.
Yeah, or would you say he's Lorcan? I feel like, nah, he's Fenris.
Yeah.
He's Fenris. Yeah. I say it Fenris. Is it Fenris? Huh?
So many, a few other side characters just all blended together too.
Yeah, because they were ripped straight out of Tog and ACOTAR.
Yeah.
Yeah, or Arcane, like you said. Because you know what? Ren is a little bit arcane-ish as well.
Yeah.
He's a stock fantasy character, though.
Yeah.
That the brother who's not my brother in arms, he's in every fantasy. The Gimli to your Legolas. He's the Tormund to your Jon Snow. He's that character. He's your bro. Going back to the throne room scene, so much wrong with the throne room scene. When I thought that when he speaks up from the back and he's like, send him to the front instead of executing Kingfisher.
Mm-hmm.
I liked that. But one thing that I would change was she signaled too early to the audience that the relationship between Ren and Kingfisher, because if she had, so what she has him do is Kingfisher is like near unconscious and Ren comes up and he slings his arm over his shoulder and helps him out the room. What I would have done is I would have had I would have had him have an entourage of fellow soldiers with him, because that would signal to the audience that he's his power and his status.
Mm-hmm.
That he makes a head signal or whatever, and two of his men go forward and they'd grab Kingfisher and drag him out the hall, because then in the audience would think visually they wouldn't know what was going to happen to Kingfisher. There'd be suspense there. They would be like, oh, no, he's being dragged off to the front. What's going to happen to him? And then in the very next scene, turns out they're friends, because then Cerys would have had she would have had to experience a little bit of surprise by the fact that they turn out to be friends. And it just would have added more characterization and interiority, I think.
Yeah.
And just why would they display to the king their brotherly relationship when the king is, you know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
But going back to Everlane and Danya. Yeah. Do we want to talk about this, or do we want to save it for Elaine's episode? Or we could go into it a little bit.
I think we could go into it a little bit, because I feel like, I mean, we kind of talked on it a little bit, just with the fact that in this situation, it would have made sense for her to not be into wearing dresses.
Right. And I agree. I agree with the way you described it. But I think what happened here is that it's almost like, is this just at this point a trope? Like, is this obligatory for like the genre that a woman has to put another woman down in order to justify her feminism, I guess, or something? But like the I'm not like other girls thing and the wearing pants thing, like it's so much of this girl power stuff is aesthetic, I feel like, because like, is the aesthetic rejection of dresses being used as a marker for feminism? Because Cerys gets a whole fucking lobotomy in this and doesn't act like a powerful woman. She is in the beginning, and then she gets a personality swap, and part of that personality swap includes putting down other women. Yeah. And granted, we didn't see her interact with any other women before, but it is just it's really strange. I don't know. Let's unpack it. What do you think?
See, I mean, it's been too long. It's been too long for wearing pants to be a signifier of feminism. There was a time where that might have worked well, but it doesn't anymore. So, like, I think when I read it, I just assumed that she didn't like them because she'd never worn one. And inside my head, that makes sense. And I didn't really think about it too much further, because for me, I was like, correct. She's never worn a dress. Why would she be comfortable in one? That makes sense.
Right.
And now I'm realizing that other people were looking at it as a signifier of feminism, which is silly, and I didn't see at all because it's not one.
Yeah, because it does seem like that it's used that way. And so, dear authors, if you are not intending it this way, you need to explain to me what the fuck you're doing then.
Yeah.
Because it's very much used as a signal of I'm not like other girls because I don't wear dresses.
Yeah.
And it's falling into this dichotomy of this is what a feminine girl is, and this is what a cool tomboy is. And like you and I both get frustrated by that for both similar and different reasons.
Yeah.
That is seems because that is what it's used as in ACOTAR with Feyre, and then Feyre changes her mind and then only wears dresses because Rhysand's mom made them for her. And so then that's okay. And once again, she's still not like other girls. She's more special and more woman than other women.
So the only two dress wearers is Everlane. And did her mom wear dresses? Because the other thing that really, like, there's a threat of sexual violence against Everlane. And then
the
there's
feminine one gets the threat of sexual violence. Yeah, is that what you're about to say? Yes.
Because, which is why I asked if her mom wore dresses as a prostitute.
That'd be interesting. I don't think we ever taught. She never talks about how her mom dresses. Yeah,
because I know that
you are right. The character presented as the most quote unquote traditionally feminine is the one who is threatened with sexual violence. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then must be rescued from it by the heroes. Yeah. And that is the thing that upsets them even more than they were already upset. Like, being kidnapped and potentially murdered should upset you just as much as her being soiled.
Yeah.
Or sullied or whatever. And I don't know that Callie Hart, like Sarah, definitely is vocal about how she's setting out to write these girl power stories. I don't know if Callie Hart has ever done that, so I'm not going to try and like put her in the same bucket because going by what the other things she's written, I don't know what her gender politics are. So I don't want to like make an assumption, but
which also makes me concerned because she wrote about prostitution, which was also in a negative light, which if you are being conscientious about it, streetwalking is the most dangerous version of that. That makes sense. Are you actually making a comment on that? Or are you just being like, prostitution is bad?
Or is it being like, look how desperate we are?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's honestly what it is. It's like Mass's choice to make like hunting and how Sarah feels about hunting. That if you hunt, it's because you're in the most desperate situation you can possibly be in. Because you notice she did that in Tog too with Elodie. When Elodie is like lost in the woods, she's like, I'm not desperate enough to hunt yet. Good, I hope you starve to death then, Elodie, because you don't deserve to survive the woods. Like, I wasn't desperate enough to kill an animal. You're lost in the wilderness.
If you find a place, you're going to buy meat.
That it's shown to signal how desperate they are rather than taking into any kind of extra additional context, which is what you said in our very first ACOTAR episode. And I was like, no, it can't be that. And so you're right.
I'm so sorry. It's like the thing that kills me.
It has to be more complex than that, Mara.
Well, and that's what concerns me when they bring in things like prostitution, because then it's just like, oh, well, the main character never had to do that.
Right. Yeah.
And I don't like that.
Yeah. And it's just like in ACOTAR where again, prostitution is presented as like the worst possible thing when it's the half-breeds, but then there's like Rhysand tells Azriel to go to a pleasure house in Valaris. So the prostitutes in Valaris are better than other prostitutes because they're from Valaris. But anybody else that does it, they're dirty and desperate. Yeah.
Which, you know what really signaled for me that was probably the case is the fact that when she's remembering the story and telling it to Kingfisher, she explains how her adoptive father never tried anything because he wasn't like that. He was in love with her, but never tried anything with her mother.
Yeah, like you're right. Because it implies then, whether she intends it or not, it implies then that the adopted father had just some kind of virgin whore complex.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Like, so I don't know. I forgot about that whole conversation. We're in side characters. I already scrolled down to So I don't know how to transition out of our conversation about prostitutes. Now I have to think about it for a little bit.
Yeah.
So anyway, so what are you trying to summarize what you're trying to say? Are you saying that there's like a problematic portrayal of femininity then that's tied to sexual deviance? There is some kind of political through line between Everlane and the mother. You are right. I don't know what it is, but it is there. Now that you've brought it up, I do feel like I have a hangnail.
Yeah. And I can't tell if it's just pure unadulterated ignorance where she just kind of created that like sense of Puritan morality without even really thinking about it, or if she's making a statement. But there was something that didn't sit right, and having a mother.
Both situations side by side.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it very much just ties into the politics of prostitution bad.
Right.
And also being overly feminine is what'll get you sexually assaulted.
Yes.
Which is dumb. We all know that isn't true.
Although
we should all know that isn't true.
We should all know that isn't true. Yeah. Yeah, side tangent though. I love that there's zombies and vampires and fairies. And I love a. I'm about to say I love a polyamorous world. I love a. What word am I looking for?
Gosh,
polytheistic.
Yeah.
I love a polytheistic magical world. I mean, it's not technically polytheism. That's referring to gods, but like, there needs to be a word.
A word for all the. I mean, it's definitely crushed. It's
polymonstrous.
Genre crossing.
A polymonstrous world. I like a polymonstrous world. Every creature, like, because at this point, like, we can get anything.
Yeah.
If we get aliens too, love that about Crescent City.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want it all. A smorgasbord. A smorgasbord of romantasy.
I did appreciate the like zombie aspect to them.
Zombie vampires.
I know. It's a good time.
And the Fae were also kind of vampires.
Yeah. Yeah, they had the remnants of it and could have.
Yeah.
She just wanted the slightest hint of a blood play scene.
Of a what?
Blood play scene. Just one bite.
Absolutely.
One little tiny bite.
Yeah, which is funny because she introduced mate bonds. She could have just done mating bites. Like, she could have just done a Megaverse stuff.
Yep.
Maybe we'll get werewolves, though. That's the only thing missing.
Yeah.
Maybe. I hope Brimstone has werewolves.
We're going to find out.
Aliens and werewolves. Yeah. We're going to find out.
We are.
I'm going to be disappointed. I want aliens and werewolves. What if they go to a werewolf planet, so it's technically werewolf aliens?
Maybe werewolves are out in one of those forests we never got to.
Yeah. But anyways, the blood. It was because she wanted blood. She wanted blood-sucking sex. Yeah. She wanted hot vampire blood-sucking sex. Could have just done mating bites. Yeah. But given the vanillaness of this novel, I don't know that Callie reads a lot of Omegaverse. But yeah. All right. So we're
the tiniest.
Speaking of world building. Speaking of zombies. We have made it to world building. Tell me your thoughts. In some ways, I thought, like we started out, I loved the desertscape. The world building started off strong, went off the rails. Yeah. Got sidelined for the romance that didn't exist.
Yeah.
So
we got some structure, some history, and some we got a little bit. Like, I feel like it's in some ways we almost got a little bit more than we did in ACOTAR.
Thank fuck for Everlane. Yeah. Thank fuck for Everlane.
Yeah. Thank you for the context.
If Everlane could be portaled into the ACOTAR world.
And just be like, why doesn't people know things? We have books.
Yeah, Everlane, love you. Love you. Like, just, can you imagine? Oh my God. Just imagine all of ACOWAR with Everlane there. She would have sat down and she would have explained mating bonds to Elaine.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Then she would have turned to Lucian and been like, I have also read some books about humans. I'm going to explain to you human etiquette as well, because Sarah's confused me so much that I've made notes. I've made an Excel document on how to interact with humans. I love Everlane. Yeah. Rhysand wouldn't have been able to keep any secrets.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, Everlane just would have blown everyone's cover all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because Giving people information when you know they don't have it is the non-liar thing to do.
It's the non-liar thing to do, Kingfisher. So coherent system versus vibes.
We got some coherence, and I think a lot of that was due to the Forage and Quicksilver storyline.
The Quicksilver was neat. When I say that I don't like training montages and why I did not read the Quicksilver stuff as a training montage, because I was learning things alongside Saris.
Yeah.
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 So I felt like those scenes moved me forward.
Yeah.
Do we want to do the age gaps discussion now or later?
We should talk about it a little bit here, just because Carrion gets a little bit of shit for, like, it's acknowledged here that it's kind of a fucked up thing to not let somebody know that you're that fucking old. Because there's the whole discussion. Speaking of Everlane, like, she sits down and has a whole conversation with Saris about how old she is.
Yes, I liked that. Again, thank fuck for Everlane. Is Everlane the opposite of author insert? She's reader insert. Everything that we're frustrated with Romantasy.
A little bit.
Everlane exists to soothe me. She's my emotional support, Everlane. Oh, so yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. You're going to talk about Everlane and the age gap.
Yeah,
right?
and just like when they're sitting in the library, they're having a conversation. Everlane and Saris is, and they're discussing. Saris is asking questions, as you do when you're brand new to a world, and asks about how old folks are. And she asks how old Everlane is, and then how old Kingfisher is.
Yeah.
And like it acknowledges the age gap discussion, which like
and
in a more
Saris
direct
is uncomfortable.
Way. Yeah.
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 She was like, ooh.
Like, oh, that's old. That's old. Yeah. And then it's mentioned later on when she realizes that Carrion is much older than she thought.
Yeah.
Again.
And she's like, but you're a slut. And he's like, yeah, it's problematic, but what are you gonna do? So it is almost like a meta conversation a little bit. Yeah. It is almost like a meta conversation because it's like it's brought up, it's addressed, Saris expresses discomfort, and then Carrion is like, what are you gonna do? Yeah. And then like that's kind of exactly how the conversation goes in the fandom. Yeah.
Well, to at least Carrion's merit, what was he gonna do? Explain to everybody? Who was going to believe him?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
To that extent, you kind of get it, but that is kind of part of it. Because then the other option is somebody either gets cool with it or they just don't have sex. And then there would be no romantasy. So that's obviously not going to happen.
It's obviously not going to happen.
Definitely not going to happen.
What I do like is that not only was it addressed in a natural way, it then reinforces to the reader that it's an aspect of the world. It's something inescapable. We have characters who are fae, we have vampires, we have humans. We don't have werewolves yet, but that polymonstrous word, I'm just going to coin that as polymonstrous. In this polymonstrous world, that is something that our characters, that is just it's an aspect of the world. So rather than ignoring it, it does address it. It uses humor to address it. Callie uses humor to address it. There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
I think where I get frustrated with the age gaps are different in the current era of romantasy than they were we didn't call it romantasy when we were growing up. Yeah. But in the previous eras of this genre, which may have used to be called paranormal romance or urban fantasy or whatever, vampire romances, that kind of thing, it was treated differently. And I do think that it is ironic that she has vampires in this story, and it's treated a little bit more like it was treated in those stories.
Yeah.
So that was interesting to me. So it almost makes me feel like she read a lot of the same books we read when we grew up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that modern romantasy includes age gaps for no reason, because then they're brought up and then they're never addressed as a conflict, as a world building aspect, as part of the plot. They have nothing. You could eliminate them from the story and it would change nothing about the story or the characters. Whereas in previous eras, the age difference between the characters was a part of the story, and it was usually one of the things that built tension and conflict in the romance itself.
Right, because in a lot of the books today, they could be thousands of years old, but they're still acting like teenagers.
Yes.
Whereas in older books, the characters who were thousands of years old were treated differently, acted differently, were almost alien. You know, that gap could be humorous at times, but it was also a bit of the conflict too, right? Like it allowed the person who is the individual in the couple who is human usually allowed for some rediscovering of humanity for the character who is so old. And it played a part in the storyline. It played a part in the storyline.
Yeah.
It mattered. It wasn't just like a fact we were told.
Agreed. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah. It was not just a fact that we were told. It was something that generated story. You are right that it was a lot of the romance was if they have to rediscover their humanity, like for vampires, rediscovering their humanity through the power of the romance, or like if they're a demon, like overcoming those different little like, oh, humans are so weird, or being fascinated by what makes why, because you know, there's anytime they were writing like angels and demons, there's also religious themes and metaphysical themes that would get explored in that don't get explored in Fae, because it's a different philosophical foundation, for lack of a better description. But yeah, but that the age difference is a conflict driver between the romantic leads, so they have to bridge the sort of chasm between the older character and the younger character in terms of like how they experience life. Like, you know, how come Kingfisher, 1800 years old, maybe he should be really set in his ways. And going back to the Saris that you want, somebody who's conniving and sneaky and doing all this stuff, maybe she's so unpredictable to him because her way of thinking and looking at the world is so much more flexible than his. So then you get that grumpy sunshine dynamic in there as well. That there's this I don't know, it's different. I don't know what I'm trying to say.
That it played a part in the story and in the relationship and in the dynamic between the two, and in how each character can grow and in what they need to grow over their own personal arc throughout the storyline.
Right, and having individual personal arcs. But then, yeah, I agree, which is moving off of age gaps, but and just talking about the romance in general. Yeah, having each character having an individual arc that then intersects with the arc of their romantic partner. But yeah, you are right. They act like teenagers, especially in Akamath. They act like teenagers. Kingfisher doesn't act like a teenager, but he also doesn't act old enough. I need, if they're going to be 2,000 years old, I need there to be a reason in the plot for them to be that old. Yeah. Because again, going back to ACOTAR, yeah, the first Hybern War should have been 100 years long.
Yeah.
If your war is only 8 years long, your characters don't need to be 1,000. They can be 30. Like, because your war is not long enough to justify how old they are. Speaking of world building, the ages of your characters should make sense for the world and the events that have happened in the world and the characters that you've built. It should be necessary. Things in your world should be necessary, and that way they can be consistent.
Yeah. Because, I mean, they could have still been 700, have that be a huge age gap. And it made a little bit more sense.
But they made him 1,800. And he gets really specific. He's like, I'm 1,733. Actually, when he said that, I was like, is this some kind of like, is he supposed to be Jesus? Like, is this a weird evangelical like dog whistle? Like, why is it one, right? You know what I mean? Like if biblical times are controversial, but where I live, people like to think that the earth is only 4,000 years old, and so Jesus is exactly 1,733. I'm making that up. I have no idea if that is why Callie Hart did it. Okay, I'm just saying. I want to know. You gave me a specific number. Is there a reason that it's specific?
Probably not.
Especially when like 3 sentences before Everlane is like, we don't talk about our ages because it's weird. We don't
Yeah.
keep track of that kind of thing.
Which honestly makes more sense because I'm barely keeping track now.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so moving on from age gaps.
Hmm.
So do you think Quicksilver relies too much on the shared language of romantasy tropes rather than building its own rules? I think in some ways it does, and in some ways it doesn't. Like some of her world building choices were cool, and then
Hmm.
a lot of it though, when things went unexplained, it was all things that were common romantasy tropes. And I remember texting you and being like, am I just expected to do additional reading? Because
Yes.
some things she explained really well, and those things were the things like the Quicksilver, the things
Hmm.
like her desert city, right? Like things that were new, she explained well, but the mating bond was barely explained.
Yeah.
Her
Yep.
little like moth metaphor thing, she went into a lot of detail about. That's
Yeah.
something singular to her world.
Yeah.
So things that went unexplained were Fae things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What do you
I think I agree. Like there were times where I couldn't remember which world we were in.
yeah.
Like I kept forgetting. I think you mentioned the Autumn Court was mentioned at one point, and just like certain things around like Fae in particular, I think are very much becoming run of the mill
Mhm.
and so understood in the romantasy community that the authors really aren't explaining as much.
Yeah.
And I think that when it came like the mating bond even, when they mention the mating bond, they don't go into a huge amount of detail, right?
Because
Like there's
they're
still a lot of work that the reader's doing on that one. And I think that it,
it's like it's like I've been assigned my syllabus for the semester and it says prerequisite reading ACOTAR.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. And
it's
then but
exactly what
then
it's like.
unfortunately like ACOTAR also doesn't really explain it. So my
No.
prerequisite reading for ACOTAR is that I have to also read Tog and I have to also read Blood and Ash and I have to also read all these other fucking books.
Yep.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then I
Yeah,
also have to read 9 million pages of fan fiction.
it's kind of an issue. Like it's kind of a thing where it's almost like they're just hoping the tropes will people will be familiar enough with tropes within romantasy to fill in the gaps.
As a reader, do you think calling something romantasy automatically lowers your expectations for world building?
Yes, and I think that
Interesting.
unfortunately, considering the genre and what's popular in the genre right now, the things that are sort of pushed and marketed and considered the most popular, there are, there's something very stock about it. There's like a very set sort
Yeah.
of tropes, and there's like great stories out there. I know because you keep sending me as just fan fiction, but it's maybe not what's considered like wildly popular.
Yes, no, I send you some amazing answer session. I sometimes I send you fan fiction that isn't Azris. Sometimes. Yeah, like I can't think of any right now. No, I think that that's true. I do see there is, and there's a lot of conversation in. I don't know if you're in the our romantasy subreddit, but people talk about this a lot, and in a couple of romance subreddits that I'm in
Yeah.
as well. And I wonder if that is, and I've seen some people suggest this that is the influence of romance marketing on the genre, as opposed to like so if you take like the traditional fantasy genre or science fiction genre, there is and we can talk about if that is because that's dominated by men or dominated by women, but there is a pressure on authors to be original, to be boundary pushing, to be doing something new, and rather than to fit this marketing trope. Whereas in the romance genre does seem really catered to everything's a bodice ripper. It's which flavor of bodice ripper are you picking up today?
Yeah.
So yeah, I wonder if that is the influence of romance on fantasy rather than the influence of fantasy on romance. So that's an interesting kind of thing to think about.
Yeah, because we keep coming back to that so much of the like complaints that we see in the for certain ACOTAR books is that the ones with the most world building are the ones people find the most boring. Or
Oh
it's
yeah,
not
like Frost and Starlight and Crescent.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah, people are just really not into it, and I think part of that is
Yeah.
exactly as you said. And there are great stories out there that are more than just the set popular books. And for whatever reason, it
Yeah.
seems like they aren't getting published or aren't getting marketed the same way, or maybe they are, maybe they are, and we just don't see them because like the algorithm's set
Yeah.
up to pick one thing and kind of just really run with it.
My algorithm is really good right now though, so I don't want to fuck with it. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Because it feels like everything right now, whether your algorithm knows you well or not, there's still that overarching like marketing push
Yes,
for.
there is a distinct difference between my personal algorithm and then if I go to like TikTok, Book Talk, and I
Yeah.
see what's on Book Talk and what all the sort of influencers have decided they're all going to push that week. And then it's like with everything. 70% of the influencers push it, and then a couple of the influencers, they'll be either like one really big influencer and then a couple smaller influencers, and they'll sort of self-appoint themselves as the I'm the contradiction voice. And so
Yeah.
it's like a 70-30 kind of
Right.
ratio of pushing, and then the I'm not like other girls, I didn't like Spark of the Everflame. Yeah, no, I get exactly what you're saying. And you're right. You're right. I think it would be hard for the majority of books to push through that because that marketing wall is so thick and so narrow at the same
Yeah.
time. It's thick in
Yeah.
that it's hard to get through, but it is narrow in what it's offering to us.
Well, and it just feels like so much can't get through that like very either thick wall or narrow passageway to get seen and to get published all those good books that are out there because it feels like so much of marketing is marketing towards, for lack of a better way of saying it, shitty, yeah, uh, shitty middle-aged women who've buried their sexuality under a lifetime of internalized misogyny. And
Misogyny. Do the spirit fingers every time we say that. I think it's like a drinking game. How many times can Natasha and Mara say internalized misogyny in 3 hours? You are 100% correct. You are 100% correct. It's that, is it that everybody likes it, or is it that it's the shopping at Target, like we talked about a couple episodes ago, where I'm like, did we all live the same life? Well, yes, because we were all given 7 outfits to choose from.
Yeah.
Every back to school season, because the large corporations that run our life have picked 6 buckets of marketing, and everybody's got to be fit into one or more of those buckets. And so we all end up wearing skinny jeans, and we all end up reading Spark of the Everflame or Quicksilver. We all end up reading Quicksilver. But like, what was I gonna say? I have to think about this for a second because I had something and I missed my coffee's not very good, by the way.
Oh, no, it's not good.
That's irrelevant, but I'm just like sitting here like, what is happening? It's not good. I don't know what I did. I'm gonna drink it, but it's not good. I'll come back to it. Yeah. I don't remember what it was. I'll come back to it. But I did have something. I'll probably remember it when I listen to it back, and I'll be like, oh fuck, I should have said that. But there are really great stories out there. And I know that they're there, but they are sometimes hard to find. Do you think that the authors themselves, I know like publishing obviously has a big influence on it and how books are marketed. I know what I was gonna say. The broody MMC. Kingfisher's not broody.
No,
I don't think he's broody. I think like Asriel is broody. I would even make the argument that Lucian is broody in regards to Elaine,
Yeah.
Because to me, broody, maybe it's because I'm a millennial, broody is like the quiet, mopey emo boy with the oversized hoodie, black hoodie, and headphones who doesn't talk to anyone or participate because he's just so thinking about his feelings. That's broody.
Yeah.
But Kingfisher is not broody. Kingfisher is action oriented.
He's grumpy.
He's grumpy. I would say grumpy sunshine for sure, except for I don't know that Saris is a sunshine.
Yeah.
But he's grumpy, but he's not broody. So and I think that probably getting ahead of myself, but that as a marketing label, you have like expectations and one of those broody MMC. What the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
It's not broody. So, but authors think, how am I going to say this? How do you think, because sometimes the things that authors themselves say about the books then influence, like I say all the time about Sarah, you know, but how do you think that the authors themselves, or like authorial branding, if you want that, as like if they go out and they say, oh, I'm writing girl power stories, or I'm writing trauma informed stories, or I'm writing dark fantasy, affect how we read books like Quicksilver?
I think that goes back to the algorithm and like how things are marketed and like what words trigger searches and like how all of that works.
Get you to get.
It doesn't matter if it actually lines up with the story being told, as long as it gets people to click on it.
That's true. I feel like, at least for me, though, marketing sets an expectation. And then that can hurt a novel sometimes, I think. It certainly hurt Quicksilver for me, because I feel, like I said in the beginning, I feel like I was pitched dark fantasy. I don't think I got it. I was pitched enemies to lovers. I do not think that I got it. The book talk and the internet and Facebook, everything's out there saying like, oh, the spice is so spicy. It wasn't, at least not for me. But like I said in our wrap up the other day, I don't want to kink shame anyone, and I don't want to experience shame anyone. I can see you looking at me. But because if this is spicy for you, it's spicy for you, and that is 100% okay. I'm just gonna lay that out there, because I know I come across as mean and condescending sometimes. So like, if this is spicy for you, this is spicy for you. For me, it wasn't. But but there are people who were like, loved the dirty talk, and that's not for me. Like, it's not a tag that I click on in AO3. So maybe this is too spicy for me in that context. I don't know. It's not. I didn't think that this was spicy.
I think that's okay. I think that's okay. Because the only thing that I'd add is that, like, because of that subjectiveness to it, as long as they get to enough of the common denominator, it works marketing wise. So if enough people think it's dark fantasy, then it works for marketing. Unfortunately, people who read a lot of dark fantasy are not going to think this is dark fantasy.
Or horror or fantasy.
Yeah. But if you're going for romantasy or even romance readers, this feels just dark enough for them. You're going to get the clicks that you want and the sales that you want.
Yeah.
So I think the issue here is that you and me are maybe not the target audience for the marketing that's being marketed for these books.
Yeah, because if you tell me it's enemies to lovers,
they should have a reason to hate each other.
They should have a reason to hate each other. And I think because so many people were being like, this is so spicy, this is so much spicier than ACOTAR, that I went in thinking that it was going to be. And it wasn't. I don't think, unless you count the language, right? Like, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do to you. Because that, if you compare it to like Silver Flames, right? That like so many people went gaga for that line, put your hands on the headboard, which you and I were like, and then it was a fade to black anyways. Like, yes, if you thought Silver Flames was the epitome of like talking dirty, because there's that scene where like Cassie and Inessa talk dirty to each other in the office, then maybe this would seem that way. But I think, I don't know, because for me, it lost me on the show don't tell. More was told than shown for me in this book. And so I think that is why, because you are right, it is because of what we normally consume. Because I do send you a lot of porn. And because I am always comparing this to porn, because I worked in an actual porn store, that I'm like, it was underwhelming for me. And I think it was underwhelming for me because of the expectations.
And you know, kind of what we touched on, if you read a lot of horror, then this isn't going to feel dark. But if you just read romance, then this is going to feel dark. And that's kind of why genre labeling matters, because romantasy gets used as this catch-all term and covers a wide range of things, from like YA adjacent writing to like something that's like genuinely complex, that's more fantasy than it is romance, but still technically it falls underneath that umbrella. And the problem is the label doesn't tell you much about the tone and depth because it's so broad.
You've got your broad genre label, and then you've also got your like marketing tags, like enemies to lovers, fake dating. You know what I mean? And then that's another layer to it.
That's how you get in the subgenres romantasy, like how they meet, not fantasy horror, something like that. It's like
Yeah.
something about the romance itself because the romance is so central to it. So we get these books that are marketed one way, delivered another.
Mm.
The readers are left with very, very different expectations. So maybe, that's why the fandom can be so divisive and diverse in how they interpret things and what they think is going on and who they root for. It's kind of going with the fluffy muddy romance expectations that are very basic and stereotypical and easy to digest without having to think too deeply about it versus those who want more of an epic fantasy, those who want more of an adventure with some romance in there, who wants to see the crafted worlds and the high level writing and the stories that explore heavy topics and complex characters. And sometimes you see authors market it as such because they know people want that, but it doesn't meet that expectation, but it falls into the genre.
That's a great point. That makes me think of this post that I read the other day by, I can't remember the author's name. It was Maggie something. She wrote the Raven Boys, which I have not read, but I put it on my TBR, and so then I started like looking up stuff about the author. And she wrote YA for years and then moved to general fiction. And just talking about the differences between like YA and like what gets considered YA. And I think there's some interesting parallels to Romantasy.
Mm-hmm.
And she said something in it that I feel like I say all the time, so I felt like quite vindicated. And that is like, Brandon Sanderson would be YA if he was a woman. You know what I mean? Like Tress of the Emerald Sea is a YA fantasy novel. Because this is definitely copy-paste Romantasy.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Yes. But Romantasy as a genre is also so huge.
Yeah.
Because
and yet what's popular is pretty small right now.
Yeah, and I feel like what's happening is that because it's a popular hashtag, publishers are scrambling to, if there's even a single element in it that they can say is Romantasy in order to get it under that tag, that they will do so. Because like I see a lot of arguments in about Captive Prince as, is this Romantasy or not? Because it doesn't have magic, but it takes place in a made-up world. But people are like, this series is so problematic, and it's this, and it's all this trigger warning this, and I won't read it because of this. And there's these huge arguments about Captive Prince, even in the Captive Prince subreddit and in like the fantasy subreddits and stuff. And a book like this, like once you read it, like I don't want to spoil anything, but like once you read it, you will be like, this is a really hard book to classify. Because yes, there is a central romance. But it's also so much political intrigue, and it is very grounded in like you're experiencing the world through the characters. So it's not fantasy like Robert Jordan Wheel of Time, where like Tolkien, where like the point is the world. So it's a really, really well built, well developed world, but you as a reader experience it through the experiences of the characters, which makes it more like Romantasy or YA. Right? Because you're down on the ground with because it's a third person limited. You can only learn about the world through Damon experiencing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But anyways, yeah. So like I don't know where I was going with this. I thought the article was interesting because of the classification of like.
Yeah. Especially because it's a little bit like ACOTAR in that way. Whereas Don't Let the Forest In is one cohesive, intensive novel.
Yes.
From start to finish.
Yeah, and a lot of I'll send you the podcast. What I'm going to accuse them of doing, I'm going to accept that we also do to Sarah. Yeah. And that is wanting it to be, it is not bracketing it in the genre that it is, and rather stacking it up against every other novel in the universe that's ever been written, which I tend to do. Because when I rank books, I'm like, this is a 3-star book. So the other day I read these 2 back-to-back romance books, which I would call them both solidly romantasy, but they are marketed as romance, as like your like Hallmark movie romance. Yeah. A theoretical whisper of a plot. One was called An Entanglement of Rival Wizards. Yeah. And it was like enemies to love. They were not. And what I appreciated about it was, even though it was marketed as enemies to lovers, the author described it as rivals to lovers. And I was like, thank you. I appreciate you for using correct terminology. Rivals, not enemies. They're at a magical school, and they're at a magical school in a magical world. And they're grad students. And they were competing for the same grant. And then the grant people couldn't decide, so they awarded the grant to both of them and made them do a combined project. And over the course of doing their combined project, they fall in love. Not enemies to lovers, that's rivals to lovers. But yeah, so she had that one, and then she had Nightmare Before Christmas. And it was very much like Elf. Like, it was like the Prince of Christmas and the Prince of Halloween, rival holidays. It was cute. But, okay, if I were to rank these books, I'd say Entanglement of Rival Wizards, 3 stars. Yeah. Nightmare Before Christmas, 2 stars. A dog shit book. It's dog shit. The premise was so cute, but the writing wasn't really good. And like, this is a weird thing to say, I've never in my life thought that characters should be aged down, but they were so immature. They were so immature with so little life experience and so little romantic experience. I was like, this should be YA. Like, these boys are 19. These are at most 20. Yeah. But they were grad students. So in my mind, I'm like, okay, grad students like 26, right?
You go straight into it.
Even if you go straight into it, by the time you get to PhD level, you're 6 years in.
2 years for grad school.
Yeah.
What?
4 years.
24 to 26, somewhere in there.
Yeah. They're pretty immature. But I feel like it's unfair to rank them that low because they're Hallmark movies.
Right.
So in the context of a Hallmark movie, the Wizards one was really good. Yeah. The Wizards one was 4 or 5 stars for a Hallmark movie. I would absolutely enjoy, and even the Christmas one. If it was a Christmas movie, if that was a Netflix Christmas movie, I'd put that on. I'd be like, oh, it's so cute. You know what I mean?
I wonder if part of the issue that we have with how hard we are on ACOTAR is we were less familiar with the genre as a whole.
Okay, but my whole argument against that is that this Sarah Rash with her Entanglement of Rival Wizards is straight up like, I'm writing fan fiction level tooth-rotting fluff. I'm writing a Hallmark movie. Sarah, in her mind, does not think she is writing a Hallmark movie. Sarah thinks she is writing The Wheel of Time. Yeah. She does. You can she takes herself seriously. So you don't get to say, I want people to take me seriously, and then when they do, I'm just writing a romance. Why are you being so hard on me? You wrote multiple sexual assault storylines into your novel, and then went on television and said you're writing trauma-informed romance, okay? If she did not go out and say things like, I'm writing a story that centers women narratives, and then I would not view your work through a feminist lens. But if you go out and tell me that you are a feminist, you're writing a feminist work, then yes, I'm going to stack your book up against the fucking bell jar.
But if you just stack it up against other Romantasy,
then it's really good. Yeah.
Then it's fine.
Unless you stack it up against Jacqueline Carey.
Yeah.
So yeah, so that's where it's like, I want to give Sarah the respect being taken seriously as an author, but that means you have to accept critique.
So I think this is where you and I diverge a little, because I went in assuming this was going to be a quote unquote just Romantasy. I was thinking Hallmarky-ish, but the fantasy version of it, so there would be lots of tropes, low stakes. It'd be kind of fun. Like, I was expecting
something like Entanglement of Rival Wizards.
Yeah.
Okay, but with zombies.
Yeah. And you went in expecting dark fantasy because you had read some of the marketing around it. I just heard read this book and I went, cool.
Just send you homework all the time. Read this book.
Well, I think I go into a lot of this with a lot less expectation than you do, because I don't know what people are saying about this book. I don't worry about it. I just start listening to the book. And
yeah, that's true. When I sent this to you, I was like, read this book because the sequel comes out next month.
Yeah.
That's all I told you.
Yeah. So there's that mismatch in expectation,
Yeah.
and because of that, my question for you is, are you stuck on the dark fantasy label? Is that what's throwing you specifically? Like, if you had never known that it was labeled as dark fantasy, would you feel entirely different about this book?
Okay, so yes, maybe. Yeah, I don't. Okay, here's the problem with Quicksilver. If I knew nothing about it, that cover is awful.
Yes, it
Okay,
is.
the cover is, I wouldn't have read it.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did probably pick it up because I'm doing this whole project. I'm like, oh, I'm exploring the genre. And because it's like, it's up there with people say, oh, you read ACOTAR, you should read this, you should read this. And then Quicksilver is one of those things. And so, yeah, I probably was influenced by the marketing. And because it was, you know what? I think that, I have to think about this. I'm thinking about this. Because if I had just picked this book up, no cover, this read like a comedy action fantasy anime.
Mm-hmm.
It did.
Mm-hmm.
So if I didn't have any expectations and I was just reading it for what it was, this book was funny.
Yeah.
It was all comedic relief. Like even
Yeah.
on our second listen, right? That we just both went back and listened to it again. It's not dark. Okay. And so I think in the lens of an anime, in the lens of like a high fantasy anime, like it's really good. If this as an anime in my brain, it's fun, it's funny, there's, action sequences and it's a good time. Like I like it
Yeah.
if 3/4 of the way through this book they had taken a detour and had like the obligatory beach episode, it would not have felt out of place.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like the episode that happens in every anime series. Yeah, that could easily fit anywhere in this book.
Yeah.
Anywhere in this book. And I would have been down for it, have been on for the ride. So in that sense, 4 or 5 stars. But as a dark fantasy, even as a romance, dog shit, 2 stars. And those 2 stars are just for Carrie and Everlane.
Fair enough.
Yeah, like, and so yes, I think to answer your question, I know we're not on a tangent, but to answer your question, yes, I think so. Thinking about it now, that yes, if I have the expectation that this is a comedy action anime, it's great. But if I have the expectation that it is dark or romantic or darkly romantic, then I'm underwhelmed and I'm disappointed. And I'm frustrated with the low writing quality. Because again, for me, the smut was not smutting enough to justify.
Yeah.
To justify to meet my expectation. Because I'm comparing smut to slutty cahoots.
Yeah.
Like my bar for smut is pretty high. My bar for smut is Asver's fanfiction, which is great.
Yeah.
So
good bar to have.
What?
It's a good bar to have, but also
it's a good bar to have.
Seems like it's just leaving you disappointed with the genre.
Yeah, it's leaving me disappointed with the genre. Well, and was how am I going to say this? You said this to me before. It's been rolling around in my brain. The dumbing down of the genre.
Yeah.
I think we talked about this in our wrap-up episode. Is the dumbing down of the genre, because the quote unquote fantasy romance or dark fantasy that you and I grew up with, I think our expectation for dark fantasy is in the Anne Rice, Jacqueline Carey fantasy erotica genre.
Yeah.
And then that's maybe why this is jarring for me.
It's almost like you get the least of both when you put them together. It's like everybody's doing the least for both. Because
just enough of either or fit on the shelf in that spot. Yeah.
And so you don't get the world building, you don't get, the tension, the dark fantasy, like the things that make that genre that genre.
Yeah.
I was listening to the Rivals book that you were listening to.
Entanglement of Rival Wizards?
No, the
Heated Rivals.
Heated Rivals.
Okay. Way more sex. Well, yes. And realistic, because dudes don't fuck around. But that does segue into what I'm about to say.
Yeah.
Heated Rivals is contemporary MM romance for anyone that wants to know what we're talking about. And I'm going to say the world building in Heated Rivals is excellent. Yeah? I don't know anything about hockey. What I know about hockey comes from my husband watching Letterkenny.
Yeah.
So I'm not a sportsy person. And there is enough world building. When we say world building, we mean world building. We don't mean lore. And I wonder if a lot of people who are new to the genre have the two confused. Because I'll listen to podcasts about like ACOTAR and other and Romantasy podcasts. And I have noticed, and it's fine to use the term interchangeably, right? Mm-hmm. But from a writing standpoint, world building as a craft term has to do with the mechanics of the world that you've built, and lore is this dragon is named this wizard is named this person is the son of this person who's the son of this person who's the son of this person. It's your like elven poetry. That's all lore. Yeah. That's all like, how did you say it the other day? I know we talked about this in our wrap-up episode, so I'm sorry I'm making you go through it again, but...
No, you're good. I'm trying to remember kind of how I said it. You said it was like
detail. Like one is, you said it really good. Like one is the foundation and then one is the ornament.
Yeah, I think it was something like that. It was like the foundation or the, like the word that first came to mind when you asked me what I had said was foundation, right? Like one thing is the mechanics of it, how the world
works, how your interpersonal relationships work. Yeah. And you had brought up Don't Let the Forest In. You had said something about Don't Let the Forest In being a complete world, because the world in Don't Let the Forest In is their school.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think what happens is people hear the word world building and they think elves and dwarves and like biblical level lineages. Yeah. And that can be part of it. But world building at its essence is really, does the environment that your characters are in, the environment, does the aquarium that your fish are swimming in make sense?
Right. Is it the appropriate aquarium?
The appropriate aquarium, yeah.
For your fish.
Yeah, so sorry, I went off on a tangent. What were you going to say about Heated Rivals? If you were going to say anything other than Shane Hollander is a worst fucking person alive. Sorry. What were you going to say about Heated Rivals?
That there's way more sex. So like you almost lose...
Yes.
You lose just enough sex to get a unsatisfying amount of fantasy. And then there's not enough fun. Okay. And so like the genre is kind of hitting this right in the middle like compromise point where compromise is where nobody leaves happy.
So to what I just said then, because I feel like the whole Heated Rivals series has enough world building regarding like the setting and the hockey environment and all of that, but it does have a lot more sex. It's contemporary. So is it because building a fantasy world, you necessarily have to include lore? I mean, I would think, because I guess Heated Rivals doesn't have a whole lot of hockey lore. All the hockey stuff is related directly to the romance plot. I don't have to like go know famous hockey players because the famous hockey players being discussed are the ones who are the main character.
And the function of the world is the real world. Like there's nothing
of the world is the real world. Okay.
Added. So then there's nothing else that needs to be defined. Because as soon as you walk into fantasy, anything can be different. And so we tend to make certain assumptions like gravity, like there's going to be land and water. We make some of those assumptions, but anything beyond that is supposed to be kind of up for being changed in some way, for there to be different rules and systems in place, which means necessarily there just has to be a little bit more world building and a little less assumption. Whereas in that story, it's contemporary, it takes place in this world here and now, so it's a little bit easier to just throw in some details about hockey because that's what's specific to the characters and what they're focused on. And the rest of it we can actually assume because it takes place in the real world.
That's a really good point, because you know what it makes me think of? That thing you texted me the other day about Hayden, that you said sometimes it frustrates you that it is a fantasy world, but then we're bringing in all of these contemporary assumptions to it. Yeah. And it was something about like how it's framed as Hayden misbehaving or something like that, but in the context of the world that she built, he's not really misbehaving because they don't have the same social norms. Oh. And that the concern is really about his safety, not about his... Yeah, how did you say it? Sorry, you tell me what you're going to say. I can't remember the text.
The comment was that Saris is enabling Hayden, and that is not the case at all. There's no enabling.
I didn't think she was enabling him. Yeah.
Yeah. And it was a weird comment to make that I feel like takes from our social norms and our world and is applying it to a situation where you only get 6 ounces of water and most of your life is going to be a shit ton of risk taking because death is so much closer. So like, make any sense. He should be learning how to take risks safely. She should be doing all she can to keep him alive because like there's no real safety net for them. So like she would of course be doing more to protect him. She would of course be doing more. What people might call enabling in this day and age would not be the same thing because that's her only social net. She's his only net for safety. And then beyond that, if they don't take risks, they don't get water. Their entire life is about how many risks they can take. The issue is he's bad at it.
Correct. Yes, you are correct. And you know what that makes me think of? Oliver Twist. Yeah. Yeah, that makes me think of Oliver Twist. And you know what else it makes me think of Silver Flames? Because the same kind of commentary gets laid not just by the readers and the fandom on Nesta and Nesta's behavior, but by Sarah herself through the narrative, judging Nesta's behavior based on not just contemporary real world morality, but a certain puritanical upper middle class version of Judeo-Christian women and how they should behave. Because you are right, no one should have batted an eye at Nesta's behavior. Like 1,000-year-old Fae don't give a shit if you get drunk and if you behave like a 26-year-old college student, which is exactly what she is.
Yeah. Not to mention the length of time at which you have to process things is different. So like
yeah. But to bring it back to Hayden, I agree with you. That like, which is why I said earlier, I think I would have liked more of an age gap between them, but I will say that when we went and made coffee, I looked up Arcane, and the age gap is the same between Vi and Jinx as it is between Saris and Hayden. And in that it's only like I think it's not clear, but I looked it up and what I could see was that it was like between 4 and 8 years.
Yeah.
And with Saris, I think it's like 4 or 6 years or something like that. Like he's 20, she's 24.
Something like that.
Yeah, and I think Vi is like 26, 27, and Jinx is like, so maybe it was just more, maybe because their falling out happened when Jinx was really young. That I liked that.
Yeah.
But I stand by what I said. I would prefer a dynamic. I would prefer it be written more that Saris is parentified.
Yeah.
Than that they're siblings who clash. I would have preferred it more because that's how I would read it. And then to go back to what you were saying, like his behavior is not like she's not enabling him. Like she's worried that, you know, he's out of his depth.
Her worries is that he's bad at it and he's going to deal with the consequences. Whereas she can do the exact same thing, but she's good at it, so she doesn't deal with the consequences. If he was able to be good at what he was doing, she'd have no problem with his behavior.
Exactly. I agree. I don't know if that is how it will play out over the course of the rest of the novels, but I agree that if that is how it is written, that is what I would like to see. And to bring it back to world building, characterization and world building should layer on each other like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That it is not just about lore. It is about creating an environment where your characters are forced to react to that environment and then them reacting to that environment in a realistic way. And to bring it all back to Saris, she doesn't react in realistic ways once we get to Feyworld. I loved Saris in Desert City. I'll love Saris for the rest of the novel.
Maybe part of the reason why it's so easy for these characters to act out of character is that there's not a good world to respond to. Like none of the worlds are fleshed out enough that there's good enough rules for there to be any sort of set understanding of what consequences might be. And thus, because the world building and the world is a little iffy and you can bring in new details whenever you want.
She is such a pantser. Yeah. You are right. It's funny because I listened to an interview. I'm sorry, I'm taking you on a tangent again. First, I'll say, I agree with you. Second, I will say, I listened to an interview where she talks about that this was her most plotted book.
Yes.
Did I send you that interview?
You told me about that interview.
That up until this point, she kind of just sat down I'm paraphrasing, but she kind of just like sort of sat down and just wrote the story out. But this one, she planned it and then filled it in. And I'll know she succeeded. Because in many ways, this still felt pantsed. I know that I'm not in the author's head, so I don't know how she feels about it. Obviously, if she feels that she plotted this out in comparison to work she'd done before, that's 100% true. How you feel is totally subjective. Yeah. As a reader, did I feel like things came out of nowhere? Yes. And when people are like, oh, you just have to reread, there's this lore, there's that lore, I'm like, no, your reader should understand what's going on the first time they read it. And all the fun stuff about conspiracies and different interpretations, that can come on a reread. Okay, but your audience, your goal as a writer is for the majority of people who read your book to all read the same book.
Right. And there's enough different opinions out there on big things that it's like nobody read the same book.
Yeah. And I wonder if that is, so there's the two things. Mm-hmm. That some of it is pantsing, things just being thrown in and not being set up. Or characters behaving wildly different in personality from chapter to chapter, which is my biggest criticism of this book is Sarah.
Yeah.
Being inconsistent.
Yeah.
Because I thought all the side characters were great.
Yeah.
And I also don't mind a smorgasbord of monster. It's fine. Yeah. There's every single thing is real. Yeah. Like I'm fine with there being zombies and vampires and fairies and dragons. And are we going to get elves and werewolves? I hope so. But the other thing is that there's no guiding. I felt like there was no guiding theme. So like much as I complain about Sarah J. Maas, I do think her guiding theme is mask and reputation versus self-acceptance. Would you agree? I'm not saying she pull it off. I'm not saying does she pull it off. Does that seem to be her guiding philosophical principle?
Yeah.
Yeah. At least in ACOTAR. Yeah. I think there's more stuff. I think there are more things going on in Tog and Crescent City, but for ACOTAR, its core philosophy seems to be self-acceptance. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this didn't have a core philosophy, which is why I say I would have a really fun time with it as an action adventure comedy anime. But because dark fantasy for me is something that explores dark themes.
So maybe the real question here, and like the one that we should look at, is that if you take the marketing and the labels away, take away dark fantasy, take away, all of those things. And we've talked about it a little bit, is how did Quicksilver actually function as a story? Like, did it deliver on what it was offering, on the emotional beats, on the genre promises, or did it copy that outline that we were talking about that she just kind of sat down and filled out? And I know you mentioned it already kind of sounds like that, and that it felt more like an action adventure without a real storyline, but just to kind of go into that a bit more.
So like, did it deliver as a complete story?
Yeah.
I think, I'm trying to be diplomatic. Overall, this book was entertaining and easy to read, digestible. Someone on Reddit said, one romantasy bingo, and I think that's fair and that's true. Yeah. And then I didn't mind that. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't mind that.
Like I said at the beginning of the episode, it's pretty standard as an example of what I've come to expect from the genre of romantasy, sadly, because I know the genre could be better. All we do is discuss the potential of these books.
Yeah. All we do is discuss the potential of these books.
And we read a lot, and we've both been reading for a long time. And, I've been, and for like even as kids, I think both of us read a lot. And
yes, both of us read a lot as kids. And I think too, both of us read a lot based on genre and not based on age level.
Yep.
Yeah. That because I think I read Miss of Avalon when I was like 12.
Yeah.
And so, we both been reading a lot, and we've been reading for a really long time across reading levels.
Mine was a mixture of high fantasy and historical fiction. I read the Memoirs of Cleopatra when I was like 10.
Yeah.
Both of us have been reading for a long time, and I think the genre used to be better. Some of that might just be us remembering it, but I think to a certain extent it used to be better. And you can write great fantasy and you can have it be sexy. Like you can include sex and have it still be a good book.
Is this the part where I get to do my Kushiel start propaganda?
How about I'll do the Kushiel Star propaganda this time around, and we'll just trade off. It's it's the best one. It is. But in all fairness, I think part of the reason that we're both so attached to Jacqueline Carey is because we're young when we read it, and she was such a pioneer.
Yeah, it came out in 2001. Right? I think Kushiel's Dark came out in 2001. I think I read it when I was a sophomore because when I got the first two books, I think.
Yeah.
Kushiel's Start it blew my mind. It had such a positive impact on my life, and on my self-conception and my understanding of consent and sexuality.
Mm-hmm.
That, to bring it all back to what we were just talking about, thank goodness nobody was censoring what I was reading, because I had been given a lot of what is pitched as contemporary romance and a lot of what is pitched as YA romance is quite toxic.
Yeah.
And then something like Kushiel's Dart, people would be like, this has dark themes, this is BDSM in it, this is not. But I read it as like a 15-year-old and it had an incredibly positive influence on me. Like, and it's to this day, it is the litmus by which I measure all romantasy, all romance, and all fantasy romance. Like, and I can't help it. Like, I can't help it. I know maybe that's a bias because I'm attached to it, but like, besides being perfect, you know what else it is?
Are you going to say dark fantasy?
Yeah, I'm going to say it's dark fantasy. Yes.
Yeah, it's a good example that there is, good dark fantasy and much darker fantasy out there. And
there's certainly much darker fantasy out there.
Yeah. And, just to the extent that it even, like, it explores darker themes like war and betrayal and non-normative sex dynamics, not like BDSM and sex work. And, like, there are lots of topics that dark fantasy touches on that many of the marketed dark fantasy romantasy books that we read never go near.
Yes, I would agree. Absolutely. Yeah, no, Kushiel's Dart is definitely not a grimdark bloodbath.
Yeah.
But it's not vanilla. Whereas like I said, I personally found Kingfisher to be incredibly vanilla and incredibly shallow. So I'm still very confused as to why it's marketed as dark. But like you said, a lot of things are just tagged dark for one reason or another. To me, Quicksilver is like, it's not even mint chocolate chip. Like, it is extremely vanilla. I know we could probably talk. We should do Kushiel's Dart someday, but I don't even know if I can, because like I love it so much that I would do a book club read of Kushiel's Dart. Maybe we do that next year.
That'd be fun. I'd really like that. Yeah.
Once we have more than 7 people watching our show, we can do a book club read of Kushiel's. If anybody's interested in it, let us know, because I will do it. I read them every couple years. It's interesting how, as I've aged, different aspects of it speak to me in different ways. There are certain things that will always speak to me, but as I've gotten older, I have noticed through my own relationships that certain guiding principles have just sort of, I relate to them differently. But just, I don't know, the series meant so much to me. I think it still means a lot to me.
Yeah.
I cannot, maybe this is how a lot of people feel about ACOTAR.
I guess.
But at the same time, like, if somebody came and criticized me about Kushiel's Dart, I could handle it.
Yeah, you could have a conversation.
I could absolutely have the conversation. I'm not even gonna get into it here, but because you already know what I'm talking about. There are many things in these books that I know will be difficult for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Or they might not understand it, or they might be so attached to their internal systems or internal ideas of like masculinity and femininity and sexuality and things like that Kushiel's Dart would be really challenging for them.
Mm-hmm.
I could have that conversation without getting upset with that person.
Yeah, because
I also don't want to end up with Jocelyn, though, so maybe that's the difference. Where everybody wants to be with Rhysand.
For whatever reason.
Yeah. Who was your favorite in Kushiel's Dart? Mine was Hyacinth. Because I like a rogue.
I think I'm gonna have to agree with you on that one. I liked
Hyacinth is
Hyacinth a
great.
lot.
Yeah, I loved Hyacinth. I loved, yeah, yeah. Which is funny because, that's not enemies to lovers.
No.
That was friends to lovers.
Yeah.
It was best friends to lovers.
Yeah. And I think that I did like that because it was genuine and well done.
It was genuine and well done.
Yeah.
Yeah. And everyone in Kushiel's art is competent,
Yeah.
including the villains. And the villains are not villains for villainous sake. They all have an agenda.
Right.
They're all working off their because they're seeking power or whatever, and so they're working off their morally gray.
Yeah.
And whether or not they're a villain is directly related to their relationship with the protagonist and not necessarily them being good or bad. Even the Viking warlord in book
Yeah.
1, he's just trying to make a better life for his people.
Yeah.
But he's a villain, and the things he does are villainous, but he's morally gray.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Do you want to say anything about villains?
No, the only thing I wanted to say is that, well, yes, you're correct. The villains have a reason. I think the reason really helps make them convincing villains and then understandable villains, right? You're not getting that black and white sort of thinking. That's a villain. They are the villain, but also there's a reason behind it, and it makes everything far more complex. And I think I appreciate that in a book.
Yeah. Even, and not, because I don't want to, if we do end up doing a book club, I'm not going to spoil it. Even the most villainy villain that comes in Kushiel's avatar has a backstory, and it makes the character not only more terrifying, but also the whole story so much sadder and deeper.
That way we both like anime so much, because every villain gets a hell of a backstory.
Every villain gets a backstory. The villains were flat for me in this book. And I had again, the queen was so cool in the first couple chapters. She was like very Hunger Gamesy to me. You know, like how the way the elites dressed. Maybe that's because of the audiobook and the voice that she chose for her. But I thought I was like, she's cool. This is a cool villain. I could see her in my mind. She was like kind of crazy, kind of colorful. I had high hopes, and then the ending is the way the ending is, and so I'm trying not to judge the ending because I know there's another book coming. I didn't love the random queer coding of the villain at the very end, that like jump scare. That I didn't like. That was unnecessary.
Yeah, it's like that it just makes being gay the villainous thing, because everybody for the entirety of the novel, except for Carrion technically, is super straight.
Super straight, except for Carrion. Yeah.
Oh, Carrion. I want so much more Carrion.
I think based on some of the interviews that I've listened to, and it does seem like he is a fan favorite character, I do think we will get more Carrion. And my understanding is that there are bonus chapters out there in certain like editions of the books that maybe, I'm sure they're available online if we want to go hunt them down. I don't particularly like that new trend. I know this takes us on tangent. I think you'll agree with me on this. Limiting access based on someone's ability to pay for that access is bullshit.
It is.
Right? So like, in order to get an extra bonus chapter, I should not have to go buy a $60 deluxe edition from another country. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, it's fucking
not
ridiculous.
even is it just a money grab, it's a shitty kind of money grab. It's a shitty kind of money grab. Just don't do that to people. There's people who are like, their only access to your books is at their local library, and libraries are already under enough pressure. Sorry, I'm not trying to lecture you, but the other day someone was like, I was telling someone that we were doing Quicksilver, and she was like, "Oh, have you read the bonus chapter?" And I was like, "What bonus chapter?" I mean, I knew there was a Kingfisher bonus chapter because it's in Audible.
Yeah.
But so apparently there are a couple bonus chapters, and I guess in one of those bonus chapters, it's like Kingfisher and Carrion having an adventure, and it seems like maybe that is a they're focused testing Carrion.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but what would you like to see out of Brimstone?
So more Carrion.
More Carrion.
I'd like to see more of the villains if they get kind of fleshed out, because for so much of the book, it's just like the villains, underlings at the edge of the river. And so there's this like,
Taladeus.
yes,
Oh, you know who else I want more of?
Taladeus.
We forgot to talk about Taladeus.
Yes, we did.
I loved Taladeus.
Yeah, I did too.
Is he just Vampire Heiress? He
Yes.
is Vampire Heiress. My
Yeah.
daddy made me do it. I'm actually a secret good guy. He's totally Vampire Heiress. I want more Carrion and I want more Everlane. And I agree. I would like the vicious. I would like the villains to be not villainous for villainy sake, or like they're done in ACOTAR, where like they just like have all of these bad qualities because they're villains.
Right.
Because then the queer coding is really gonna piss me off.
Yeah.
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 So yeah. Anyways.
It's more Desert City.
More Desert City.
Yeah.
I feel like we're going back. I feel like we're going back to
Desert City. Go to the brother, right?
Yeah. We kind of have to.
Yeah.
But speaking of Taladeus, Reddit, there's a theory, and you probably haven't heard of this, but there's Redditors who have the theory that there'll be a love triangle. I'm skeptical because, like I said, I kind of like listened to and read a couple interviews with Callie, and I don't know if she's going to do love triangle.
Yeah.
But maybe she will.
I'd like to see a good love triangle, but I don't know that she'll do a good love triangle. So
Nobody does a good love triangle.
A love triangle. But you know what I would like to explore?
Jacqueline Carey. Sorry. Okay. Jacqueline Carey doesn't do a love triangle. She does like a love octagon.
Yeah.
And like I rooted for so many of the pairings that were in direct contrast with other pairings I was rooting for. It was an emotional book for me. I didn't know how to feel. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. I agree. Do you mean because of the mate bond versus the vampire sire thing? Is that what you mean?
Well, in part, that's why the love triangle wouldn't be good. I just think overall it's just usually not well done. Like it seems very obvious. But what the exploration I would like to see is that mate bond versus the vampire sire bond. And like that could be interesting as well if done well. I don't know if it'll happen. I do think that if we're going to continue in the direction we've been going, we're going to get werewolves instead.
Yes. I hope so. Like I said, I hope we get werewolf alien. I hope we get a werewolf planet. I think we're probably gonna get Daddy Kingfisher back.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like that soap opera law. Unless there is a body, the character is not necessarily dead.
Yeah.
And even in soap operas, a lot of times there's a body, and then they're like, that was actually this direction. that actually, because I do think there is setup for that, where they're like, because people have gone through the portals and then disappeared and never came back, and there's speculation of like, did they portal themselves into the heart of the sun, or did they just go to a cool planet and not come back?
So are the gods actually aliens, and that's how we're going to get aliens?
You know what? If that doesn't happen, I'm just going to choose that is the answer. Actually, maybe not, because that would be a lot like Crescent City. Yeah.
Have you talked about it maybe being fan fiction? So.
Yeah, it does. In many cases, it feels like fan fiction. You could get gods and aliens. Make it. Just do everything.
Yeah. And we'll just lean in.
Lean into Froyo Romantasy.
Carrion. We just want Carrion.
Yeah. Okay, I have a big question. Because I did just do my re-listen.
Yeah.
So earlier I said Carrion Taladeus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What about Carrion Lorcan? Oh, fuck, his name's not Lorcan. The Fenris Lorcan character. What is his name? Lothan? What's his name? Lauren. It's not Lorcan, it's Lauren. And Renfris is not Fenris. Oh my god. This is ACOTAR fanfiction.
Yep.
Like, no, it's a homage. Is it? Because I re-listened to that scene where they're like doing the gambling and where he's throwing the daggers into the tree, and Carrion's all mad because he thought he was going to set him up, and then he was too good at throwing daggers, so Carrion didn't get to do his scam. And that was so cute and so anime. Yeah. And they could totally be Black Cat Golden Retriever. Yeah. Carrion's not really a black cat, but he is snarky. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I like it. I like it.
I like Grumpy Sunshine.
Yeah. I want
to see that. So I don't know now. Like an hour ago, I was shipping Carrion Taladeus. And so here's my logic. Okay. Do you hear my logic? Here's my relationship logic.
Yeah.
because Taladeus is Eris. So we're just gonna gloss over the fact that Carrion is Lucian.
Yeah.
Gloss over that. In this universe, they are Carrion and Taladeus. And that like Eris, Taladeus has like lived his whole life under his evil father's thumb.
Yeah.
And in Vampire Land, you know, having to pretend to be a bad person or whatever. And then Carrion is like, he lived his whole life with sort of hiding his identity as a elf, sorry, not elf, as a fae, hiding his identity as a fae, and so he can never really connect with anyone. And so like both of them are kind of lonely, even though they have this sort of like outward projection of either of whatever, like an outward projection of being fine, that they're kind of lonely. And so they could just go on this immortal like pansexual interplanetary adventure. I love it. But now that I did my finished my re-listen, I'm like, Carrion, Lauren, you know, Grumpy Sunshine is also a thing. So now I can't decide. I'm ship warring against myself.
Just kind of going off on adventures together.
Or he ends up with a married couple.
Carrion will just convince everybody.
Yes. But is there anyone else you're shipping? I know you don't really ship, but...
You know, I usually do. And you know what? It's been interesting since starting the Romantasy series. I don't really with the Romantasy series. Like, I actually ship Azris at this point. I would absolutely love to see that. Like, I am absolutely... When I say I'm on board with that, I am on board with that.
I'm so feral for it. For so many reasons.
Yeah. No, I think it's fucking great.
For so many reasons.
But I don't know what it is about the Romantasy series. Like, genre, I don't end up really shipping anybody. Most right now, I ship Carrion and everyone.
Do you think it's maybe because of the romance influence, it's you're kind of beaten over the head with it? So I saw in the ACOTAR, I think it was in the ACOTAR subreddit, or it might have been in the Romantasy subreddit. Somebody was talking about ACOTAR 6, and they were talking about how when Silver Flames came out, the announcement for Silver Flames announced that it was going to be Nesta and Cassian. And so anyone that has read romance knows that usually, like the standard in contemporary romance, like in Heated Rivals, you get Ilya's perspective, Shane's perspective. You know from page 1, book 1, they are ending up together in the end. Yeah. So it kind of takes the wind out of your sails. Like we talk a lot about tension and stuff. And so that's the hurdle that romance has to overcome is, you know, they're going to end up together. The question is just how. And so the romance has to do the work of showing you how. Yeah. That if we get an ACOTAR 6 announcement and it's, you know, Elaine Asriel, it's over.
Yeah. We know ahead of time.
And so my question for you is maybe the reason that you don't find yourself shipping, because in another series or even talk where you have multiple POVs, you can kind of use your imagination a little bit and have some fun with it and just read the chemistry on the page for what it is and its potential, and maybe that's why you ship more. Whereas if in Romantasy, because you're like, oh well, it's these two POVs.
I think part of it is that it's romance, and most of the ships that I've liked are people who didn't end up together. So you end up shipping something that didn't happen, and you have to go find it elsewhere. Whereas, because with Cassian and Nesta, theoretically, I like it.
You liked Cassian and Nesta in ACOWAR, I remember.
Yeah.
And I didn't. I was like, this is so cheesy. And you were like, no, I like it.
Yeah. And then there's all the problems with Silver Flames, which you have to go, so we're not. But theoretically, grumpy bitch, happy-go-lucky golden retriever. Great. Love it.
Fucking love it.
Actually give me that. Give me that. And we didn't get that, and that was the issue. So I think part of the issue is the romance is so forward that there's nothing to ship. Like with Azris, you gotta
subtext.
You gotta go root through everything for some subtext and all the clues.
So if it's Azris, Azriel has done some fucked up shit, and that they're gonna have to overcome.
Yep.
And I know people are gonna hear this and be like, Eris did fucked up shit too. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like, think about it. Yeah. Like that's like, if it's Azris and if they're mates, especially if at least one of them knows the whole thing about Koshche's Lake and Eris being like thralled to Briallen, and then Azris Asriel saying, "You're a dead man walking, you have been for a long time." Oh my God, every reader is going to be gutted to go back and reread, especially if you find out that like Eris was trapped in his own body, having to hear his mate say he deserved to be dead, and then for it to be Cassian who realizes that Eris is trapped and not Asriel. Oh my gosh, that is so angsty. That is delicious. That is fucking delicious. And it's funny that I say this because I'm so upset with Shane Hollander in Heated Rivals.
So far.
It's a whole other thing.
Yeah, I'll text you about that later.
There's still, maybe by book 6 of Heated Rivals, I will be ready for them to be together. But right now, I want to protect Yvelia with my body.
Yeah.
I want to put my body physically between him and Shane like a linebacker. Which is, I think, how Azris could start in ACOTAR 6.
Yeah.
With everybody being like, Eris is precious. Keep this horrible shadow singer away from it. So anyways, I don't know a tangent. What were you going to say?
On when, two things. One, depending on when the mate bond snaps into place, that changes a lot of the context, because a lot of things that they did are as two adults in different courts, as warriors in their respective posts, doing what they needed to do. So a lot of it's very understandable from that perspective. But depending on when the mate bond snapped into place, and who knows, things kind of look different. So that it's very dependent. Two, Yvelia in Heated Rivals states that he likes things that are not good for him. And I'm like, okay, that's going to keep this going perfect.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I know. We're supposed to be talking about Quicksilver, but everybody needs to go read Heated Rivals. Read Game Changer first, but then read Heated Rivals. And I know we're not supposed to be reading romance because we're trying to do this like romantasy horror podcast. But listen, Heated Rivals is a fucking horror story if you're me. So like how anything can be tagged as romantasy, I'm going to go ahead and tag Heated Rivals as horror.
And to be fair, it is good research for comparing romance to romantasy and what you can expect from the genre.
Yeah, I agree. It's fair. It's just I hate Shane so much. It's fair.
I think with Quicksilver and with pairings and like with what I want and expect, I think the mating bond may take so much of the tension out of it that it's hard to ship anybody, because
which is why I think it would be interesting, like you said, if we get to explore the mate bond in contrast to the vampire sire bond. And like you said that, and so I've been stewing on it for the last 10 minutes. What else would be interesting to add to what you said, to go all the way back to what we kind of was the theme of our episode? If we get chapters 1 through 6 Saris back, Saris, it would be really cool if in Brimstone, because we ended Quicksilver with Saris and Kingfisher in a pretty good place in their relationship, right?
Yeah.
It's their mate bonds, their mates versus the world kind of thing. But let's say we get Saris, independent tank girl, scrappy Saris back.
Yeah.
One mate bond. She was in the process of accepting one mate bond. Now, all of a sudden, there's yet another magical force acting on her. Yeah. I think she's not going to like that very much. And she might reject what would be cool is if it was done in kind of a love triangle, is that her reaction now becomes to push both of them away and to try to reach for her autonomy that she feels like she's losing. And that could be some real delicious angst. And I would like to see that in Brimstone, even if they don't go full love triangle, because she doesn't want to do that trope. Doing a agency versus destiny, like you said before. What did you say before? Destiny versus fatalism. Yeah. Kind of like exploring that through the metaphor of personal agency. Yeah. would be really kind of cool, I think.
I think it would be too. But I guess we'll find out in like 2 weeks.
In like 2 weeks, yeah. We will find out in like 2 weeks. Anything else we're hoping for? We didn't talk about the adaptation. So it's Netflix and it's going to be a film.
Okay.
So any hopes for the adaptation? I know we talked about Brimstone, but what about the adaptation? Obviously, it should come as no surprise. I would like it to be an anime.
Yeah.
I'm sure it will be live action, but I just feel like it would be such a good anime. It's going to be a film. That's one thing to think about.
Yeah. So they can't drag it out and kind of
They can't drag it out.
in that direction. Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like it's going to be, we open in Desert City. It all goes the same. Like, I think most things are going to get put in.
Yeah.
We open in Desert City. We have it's totally going to open with the Aladdin running on the roof scene, because that's exciting. That's exciting. Yeah. And then the stealing the gauntlet, and then we're going to see the Queen in full regalia. We're going to go through the Quicksilver, and she's going to be yeeted into Fey World. I think a lot of the slice of life stuff might get either cut or
removed,
all put together.
Yeah. I worry they'll make the Danya thing worse.
Yeah. I think it depends on who ends up being the director.
Yeah. But yeah, I think we'll do another episode once the movie comes out, is what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I think the movie comes out next year. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
Right?
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure.
I'm not entirely sure. Good for her getting a 7-figure deal for it, though.
Are they fixing the cover? Does she have enough money to fix the cover now?
They fixed the cover.
Okay.
Yeah. They fixed the cover. The cover now looks like the Brimstone cover. So, yeah, it looks good. It's very basic. It's very pared down. It's good. It's cool. Looks cool. Yeah. There was no way Netflix was going to allow her.
Yeah.
They were like, no. Cover was so bad.
God. Like, I too would not have read that book. I would have been like, no, thank you, and kept moving. Yeah.
Oh, would you rather see it live action or animation?
Animation.
You would like to see it. Jesse's watching this anime right now called like Shield Hero something, or Rise of the Shield Hero, and like every time I walk through the living room, I'm like, that's Kingfisher, that's Everlane, that's Carrion.
Yeah.
And so that is that style, like that high, like what you called it, high fantasy. Yeah, that like high fantasy anime style. I wish it would be. I don't know if it will be. It may be, but if it's live action, I don't have any casting preferences. I think the only thing that I would say about that is that I don't want Sarah's to be a plain Jane white girl with mousy golden brown hair.
Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You know who I think would be a great Sarah's?
Who?
Did you ever see Jane the Virgin?
No, but I know of the show.
Yeah, she'd be good.
Yeah. Well,
Is that a wrap on Quicksilver? Are we done?
It is, yeah. I can't
believe we finished. I love how what did we say this was going to be? 70 minutes? Yeah, I think I'm not going to look at the clock, but I think we're clocking it at like 3.5 hours.
That sounds right for our goals.
Yeah, I mean, like maybe once I like clip the pauses and the ums and the ahs, we might knock that down to like 3 hours and 15 minutes. The potty breaks. Yeah. Well, all right. I don't have really an outro. Quicksilver comes out next week on November 18th?
November 18th.
Yeah. And Heated Rivals comes out for 28th. Plug that. This other series that Mara and I are reading, that's a hockey romance. Completely. If you are looking for a completely different genre and palette cleanser, and you too would like to come to my book club and talk about how much we hate Shane Hollander.
Yes.
You can do so. But yeah, I'm planning to read Brimstone. Are you planning to read Brimstone?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I just want to see. So we spent 3 hours complaining about the book, and then we're definitely going to read the second one.
Yes. Absolutely. Also, just so you know, Quicksilver bonus scenes, Kingfisher's POV, is on Audible, on Spotify Premium.
All right. We're both going to go listen to the Kingfisher POV. But I guess there are other ones out there. We'll have to look them up. Maybe they undermine everything we have said, but we have 2 weeks to read them before Brimstone comes out. So yeah, Spotify, Audible, get your Quicksilver, everything, everything in. If I find the bonus chapters, I will link them, or I will link to a link of them, I guess, if I can, because like I said, I don't believe in that. I believe in that elite nonsense. And you know what? Sarah's from chapters 1 through 6, she wouldn't believe in it either.
Yep.
Yeah. She'd be like, bonus chapters for the masses. Yeah. Anyways. All right, I'll let you go. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone, and we will see you next week.